I'll call this February 18th meeting of the Planning Commission to order for the for our work session. And I guess first I'd like to just see if anybody has any general comments that they would like to make from the board or staff. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Foss, Assistant City Manager.
I am
Stand over here. I'm still learning where I need to stand on these things, but
Trap door is right over.
yeah, that's why I'm standing right here. So I can grab the chair. So Eric Foss is the City Manager for the City of Beaufort. Just moved back here a few days ago, but I spent some time here in Beaufort County. Was Director of Engineering over in Beaufort County for a couple of years. Familiar with the area and excited to be able to come to the City of Beaufort and contribute.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Glad to have you. Anybody else? Any public comment?
I think Mr. Beery was going to give a presentation, if that's okay with you, about, I think it's in relation to the line building.
Okay,
Just some,
let me finalize the public comment first. Sorry. Do we have any public comment online? No, okay. Thank you. So, okay. Kurt.
Afternoon, Adam Geary with Beaufort Design and Build. We're working with Mr. Paul Trask to evaluate it or look at the code definition of liner buildings and the requirement for 2 stories, how to address the corner.
Explain that relationship.
how do you spell your name?
Beery, B-I-E-R-Y,
Who are you with?
Beaufort Design and Build,
What is it?
the architecture firm here in Beaufort.
And explain that relationship.
Mr. Trask was a client of ours. We worked on the existing Chipotle building and the Five Guys building with him. So we've worked with him in the past on that project.
Okay. And Kurt. Question to Paul to have a discussion on this or what?
Yeah, they just requested if they could give a little presentation on just their comments on line buildings. They have some ideas.
Okay.
That would be, since we usually do public comment at the beginning. Times.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not a city, this is a public comment from, citizens.
Good. I just want to make sure we were clarified with that. So,
Not a problem. If it's all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just share my screen, come up, show you some visuals that we've came up with. So this is currently the corner between Trask Parkway and 170, if I'm not mistaken. So this would be the Five Guys building here, have McDonald's across the road, Chick-fil-A back over here.
move the cursor slower. So
Okay,
I can see that. Yeah.
here we go.
Okay.
This would be
Can you
Chick-fil-A.
make your whole screen a little bit bigger? I can try then.
Maybe not.
That's all I can do.
Okay.
We're gonna make it bigger.
Yeah, just because it's a shared screen, it's probably the biggest.
Start over again. 170 Trask Parkway corner. We have McDonald's over here. You see where my hand is, sir? Okay. Chick-fil-A over here, existing Five Guys building here. And then Chipotle would be, if we ever get there, on that side, close to where it says Nick. So we wanted to look at how we could hold this corner with single story liner buildings utilizing pedestrian thoroughfares to actually draw people off this sidewalk and into and engage with the buildings present on the street. So we did some renderings. Granted, please understand that these buildings are all very conceptual in nature, but we're trying to show how a single-story liner building, applies or could work. So that's from the top. We go down to street view. Give it just a moment. So this would be coming from out of town towards City Hall, right there at the main intersection. And the idea is lowering that height requirement from 2 stories to a single story and creating a pedestrian plaza on the corner. So opposed to the building holding the corner, letting a pedestrian mall or plaza hold the corner. So these few slides here we're going to take you down the street towards City Hall, again, showing some setback from the sidewalk, but again, still engaging the sidewalk. Move a little further down the street. We tried to get enough scenes and views. So we were kind of showing you, but still engaging the street, but being able to set back, get a nice landscape buffer. As you get down further to Low Country Urgent Care and Chipotle, there's quite a drastic setback there because the drive aisle comes through there. So it's starting to build from the further setback closer as we get to the corner. And then when we get to the corner, having that pedestrian main plaza, if you would. So we went up and we did a U-turn. There's the next light in front of Chipotle, and we're headed back towards the main light. But I'm trying to show here is, and you saw it from the aerial plan, but creating these not only on the corner, but these interblock pedestrian ways that can sidewalk back through to the plaza and park in the rear, creating outdoor space, whether it be a bookstore, a restaurant. Again, there's no tenants formally for any of these, to our knowledge.
How you doing?
And I got 3 more. I won't bore you anymore, but I think these different views help illustrate what we're talking to. We have been in communication with Jeremy Reeder, with Metters, and he really seems to like the idea, the concept of using the courtyards to hold the corner opposed to a large mass. This is coming from Lowe's up 170 northbound. But again, engaging the street while pulling people with the use of the buildings. There's a lag. And then kind of the view that hardly anybody will see because you don't stop in the middle of the intersection, but it's something nice to be able to pass by and see. We presented or discussed a version before which had the buildings slightly, it was tighter in the back, so it didn't have a long view when you were turning the corner. And the suggestion in talks with the city staff was that we trying to open that up a little bit and get shorter faces of the building to the sidewalk, and then create that larger face as it tapered back to create the longer views as you go around the corner. And these are just things to consider as a alternative. I wouldn't say an alternative to a two-story mass on order or the two-story requirement.
So I like that concept a lot. With respect to that particular corner, I'm just wondering, you know, I don't like that corner. They took a crooked corner and replaced it with another crooked corner. And there are a lot of accidents on that corner. And I'm just wondering, it does look like that pedestrian plaza comes really close to the road in this rendering.
It's right up to the backside of, if I'm not mistaken, there is an existing sidewalk there. So it comes right to the backside of it. What it doesn't do, which a building would do, is block that view. And which we think is important as well. Not only does it give you the view around that corner that way, but it does start to let you peek back in as you're going through these breaks.
Could you design that with some kind of safety barrier that would not
We could
wreck the view?
definitely do bollards. I mean, incorporated within that fencing, to keep cars out, people in, and everybody safe for sure. Because you're right, that is a fairly dangerous corner, or can be.
Just for clarification, we're not on master planning this.
No,
We're just talking really about
We're talking
what could be.
what could be,
based on-
and based
yeah.
on the current codes, this isn't
Yeah.
allowed.
Because you might wanna do, who knows, maybe a new tenant would come along and you'd like to do wrap the whole corner and that would be fine too. Yeah,
Correct, but this was
Just
just,
maybe just one story versus two. Yep,
exactly.
Gotcha, yep.
I think though, to your comment, I want to go back to, a few months ago when we talked about the fact that we do, this board needs to be looking at master planning areas, not just sites. And so I think that's really important for us to do. And I think that, when you take a look at this corner, we all go around that corner 100 times a week. I think creating that pedestrian plaza, I like the concept. But the only way that pedestrian plaza would really get used very much is if you soften it with some trees and landscaping.
No doubt, no doubt.
To try and, create some shade, some other things like that.
Yes, sir.
I think that's what's going to be important as we take a look at the entire concept from a master plan standpoint and not just look at the corner itself. Now, I understand that you're trying to show us what a colonnade or whatever would look like to replace liner building. And I couldn't really see a whole lot with the dark colors of everything. If you do in the future want to present something like that, you're going to want to know what those setbacks actually are that you're looking at and trying to create a sense of a place there.
Yes,
So,
sir.
but conceptually, I don't have a problem conceptually with what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you. Just for reference, we're at 0 to 25 approximately in the setbacks with these 4 buildings that are shown here. And if I can show you any view that would help better illustrate it now with the model, I just saved these ones so I wasn't trying to steer this thing around.
No, I understand that, but I think I'd say my discussion points architecturally, planning wise, until we see something definitive about what you're going to try and accomplish.
That's all I had to present today, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other public comment before we leave? I'm going to go ahead and close the public comments section then, and let us go to our discussion of chapter 4. My voice sounds like it's changing. I'm over being sick there for 5 weeks, but my voice seems to be struggling. Kurt, is there, any way you would like to approach the rest of chapter 4 in particular?
Well, we, as of the last, there was a suggestion to kind of just the notation guide of everything. Referenced at that meeting, and so hopefully you all have that. The iconic nickname of the 23rd. It's been sent with the.
I printed it and I left it on the printer. I can follow up. If you could print a couple out.
Yeah. I don't have it.
And so we stopped at section 5.4.5.1. We were sort of talking about 4.5.12, but we have that discussion. Because we had gone through it all, if you remember, and we were giving kind of recommendations and changes were kind of. So that was the point. That was the suggestion from Ms. McMahon, because, the thought was is instead of confusing everybody with another copy of the ordinance, that this would be a better document. We haven't made these changes. These are the notations, the notes, changes that we would make for the future copies. So I'll take the principles out. Those were sent to you. So hopefully everybody. But at that meeting, we stopped at 4.5.12, which is being able to finish the drive-through gas station discussion. But I'm not going to do it. We can just go to that section of the code and 1.5.1. Or we can start on liner buildings since we just talked about it. Instead and kind of meander back to.
Is that page 16?
It's pretty far. It's way further than that.
Oh, it is.
Let's
I do want to go back because,
43 of 72.
I felt like as we were going through the last time, we were going through general discussions
Yeah, you were.
of these sections. And when we do get done going through that, I would like to go back to a detailed discussion of anything in particular from a detail standpoint that anybody would like to comment. I have some comments, so we'll go back to that after we get done going through your general discussion.
You want to start with this or you want to go to a line?
No, I'm good wherever you want to go with this. If you want to just continue on with your general discussion from where we left off last time.
Okay, well, let's go to
Do that.
page 44. That's where we stopped last time. So 4.5.1. Just go to page 44. Okay. Everybody same page. Right now, we had some very general discussions. We started off, so I think one of the comments was the schematic on the left. It's kind of like an urban Buc-ee's or something that I don't think anybody's ever seen. So that's probably not likely. Not yet. Yeah, maybe we'll call it Buc-ee's. They can do a little Buc-ee's and an urban Buc-ee's. Anyways, so I think everybody recommended kind of, if you remember, that's kind of where we stopped last time. We can revise those schematics, but essentially we were, for all intents and purposes, rewriting this section. And let's just start. So we're down. So we're pretty much taking out the existing section. And revising it quite a bit, so if you keep on. It starts with specific to T5UC, which is just being kind of changed and cleaned up a little bit, but not too much. And then adding the general architectural design after that, if you just go down. And then the low country design, so one thing that we see a lot of with the gas stations is, a lot of the colors. They're somewhat difficult to deal with, to be frank, because our code is kind of requiring fenestration, et cetera, on the gas station building. Corner lots are somewhat difficult at times to deal with. They also like to use like bright colors, blank walls. So, and we just want to make sure that the low country design standard is also there. So as you go down to like the site planning and orientation, we were trying to address all these things. Because that's the yellow.
Before you get to that, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
I go back to building fuel station requirements specific to T5UC, that the number of pumps shall be limited to 3, and then dash a maximum of 6 fuel positions in the historic district and 6 pumps elsewhere. Can we?
Those are
Is
the
there
current
anything
code.
distinguished
Is it,
between?
is the red current code?
Well, it's been revised, but this is the same as the current code. This
Well,
little-
what are we looking at? Are we looking at a proposal or are we looking at the current code when we look at the red?
This is a proposal, but some of it is similar. It's just reorganized, but as we get into the yellow, that's all new. So this is.
I think based on applications we've seen for gas stations, they want more pumps. Like all of them want more pumps.
This would just be UC, right? So if they're an RX, they can,
I could do it running as they like.
but if they're in T5UC.
Okay, so elsewhere refers to still in T5UC.
Yes, I mean, to me.
Okay,
That's correct.
that's checking.
Yeah.
T5UC is
Okay, so-
specific to that district only.
So the bigger gas stations would be more at the periphery, I would say, is what's gonna happen.
Are there any gas
So-
stations in the historic district?
So there have been that one on Boundary, it's like the liquor store gas station,
The-
Boundary in Newcastle.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Way back when, the printing shop is on Carter Ave, it's a gas station.
And the pink building, they're
Used to be a
gonna
gas
put
station on Main
12.
Street. Where the first tree is, that,
Do we want to have gas stations in the historic district?
I mean, I think it would probably be a real struggle to get one approved. To be perfectly honest
not
with
the
you.
land, but.
Yeah, I mean, don't they have to put those underground tanks and, all that, I mean,
I think
That
that's
goes
good
to the
stuff.
state. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We haven't talked about this section, so. If you want to limit it, we're still doing chapter 2, so we would have to revise chapter 2 to basically take the use out of T5 use. The problem being is that that's all of 170 and Revo Road, so. It would have somewhat of an effect on, major corridors, where you would
well,
be likely to find, I guess.
couldn't, the historic district doesn't include all of 170 and Revo Road.
No.
So if we limited to no gas stations in the historic district, there would still be plenty of other places in T5UC you could put a gas station.
There used to be a gas station where that pink building is there on Boundary, right at the curb, it's gonna be a gas station. And all those, I think little ones always had, I think, 2.
And there's a store located at Boundary, I think Harrison. I can't remember if it sells gas or not.
So
Yeah, I think you're right.
Would
There
you,
is a precedent for the game there, but. I don't think
would you all like to make some kind of restriction on that in the historic district, or is that what I'm hearing, or?
I would be in favor of that, of not allowing gas stations in the spur district. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that.
I don't got a problem with that. Okay, and we'll have that square list.
Run that by your committee.
And then I don't think that's not what that does.
3 years later, they give us an
But
answer.
yeah, that's true too. I think they feel the same. I think historic people.
And I guess the other thing is the 6 pumps would be 12 fueling positions. That's,
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a problem with it. I just wanted to bring it out.
Yeah.
Well, like
You could have as many as 12.
the Enron still goes, Enmark, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
the newer one. I believe that has 8 pumps and 16 fueling stations.
Really?
That's my recollection. I might be wrong. These 3.
So it looks like, I think there is a gas station at the intersection of Harrison and Boundary. And is that in the historic district?
Harrington.
Harrison, yeah, Harrington.
Yeah,
Harrington.
yeah, that's the liquor store, it has liquor store in it too, yeah, that's,
So
I think
this
it's
is
got
a
a couple of gas
concern.
pumps, yeah.
Yeah.
We would take out the historic district reference, and are you okay with going to 6
But
then?
that's okay. I mean,
Because this was the
they
limit.
grandfathered in, right?
The limit was 3 in the historic district, and then 6
Yeah.
pumps outside of it. Are you
Yeah.
okay with that, or?
Yeah, I think,
That would be basically 2 rows, right? So, that's 4 pumps essentially.
yeah,
That's
Well,
another,
that's grandfathered, so.
All right, so we'll eliminate the 3 and make the historic district. Sorry, I've gone through this a few times, but we're kind of in a more detailed discussion, so hard to.
I'm sorry, go ahead and go forward then, with the rest of your.
All right, the rest of that is not really changing too much, but why that had to be changed and wasn't highlighted in red, because we've added the general architectural and low country design elements. I think we've been trying to add every section. So we wanted to kind of create that different vernacular style
Yeah, I had-
everywhere. And so it required some changing of things. And then the site planning and orientation is for every other pump, and that's kind of new. So it's somewhat similar to the T5 UC standards, and I think that's the kind of the biggest thing. Is we have that's front the primary street and pedestrian entry directly toward the sidewalk, the public right of way. So that's been an issue with the gas stations and drug.
Just one more question on before we leave the gas stations. Number 5 on page 45. Fueling stations shall not be located between the building and the adjacent street. So
So that would be your traditional, that you see almost everywhere, right? Where you pull in and you see the canopy and the pumps and then, drive in there and get your gas and the building's on, the back side. Right? Get your
well, I
snacks.
mean, again, using the Enron thing, that would comply, right?
You mean the one out on 21?
I
Is that
mean, the one on the one
in Paris?
on Boundary Street.
Oh, on Boundary Street.
it's on a corner.
The corner is given. The building shall be located in the corner, that complies, it's just, essentially. This means is that the pumps can't be forward of the building, essentially, that's the best way, I guess.
Okay.
Which is usually what gas station companies wanna do, because they want you to easily pull into their pumps from the street.
And you want to see the pumps.
Want you to see the pumps, see that they're open, see how easy it is to get in.
So if that Enron or Enmark, whatever it's called, was not on a corner, that would not comply. They would have to, with the pumps behind the building.
That's right. And we mirrored that design with the Parkers as much as we could at the Beaufort Station. Because that had already been approved, I think, by the MPC, but when it came back to you, they wouldn't use like the corner and stations similar. So you can see the
That
pumps are
does look
still,
Those do look like 3, don't they? As opposed to 4. That's a lot, it's a pretty big pump area.
yeah, so they got 6. So it's not the historic district, so this was built, obviously, when this code was in
Or maybe
compliance there.
the precursor to Boundary Street development ordinance probably was the precursor to
Okay.
this, so I would say.
This is pretty new. I mean, this
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
built in the last several years, like last 3 or 4 years.
So I would
I
say
mean-
this substantially shows what.
This is exactly what this code is trying to do. That makes sense to everybody.
You said this was built in the last 3 or 4 years, you mean the building itself?
Well, the gas station used to be closer to City Hall. And then I don't know if there was, I forget if there was something there or not, but they did a extensive remodel or whatever in order to get this station as it is now.
Because I've been coming in here for it ever since 2016. And that gas station is, I think it's always been there like that. I do think the car wash building is new, because I can remember when the car wash building was built. That's been in the last 4 years or so. Because you had to create a driveway to get into that car.
Was it a Subway or something there before?
What is it?
There had been a Subway in that building in the front, like right there
Yeah,
where that is, yeah. Hopefully that was done in the last 10 years. or
This is a good example of, if you go down past the low country where it's highlighted, where we go with lights being deleted, I'm sorry, site planning orientation, we're kind of trying to say the same thing with just pumps in general, so buildings must front the primary fuel pedestrian entry oriented toward the sidewalk or public right of way. So this is something that this would need to kind of revise. And if you go down with the fenestration, it's okay, but fenestration is on page 47. Just referencing this structure, you can see a minimum of 40%, so let's go back to that. Back to that picture that you had. And then the street view, sorry. And so you can see they've got, I mean, this probably could have been a little more successful, the pedestrian oriented. But they've got the windows on both sides of the street, so it's in the corner. And so we're trying to do this for all of the basically gas stations. So they have fenestration and
Do you think this meets the frontage requirement on Boundary side?
well, the gas stations are specific, that's why they're kind of, they have to be at the corner, and that's why they're kind of exempted out, because it would be impossible otherwise to make them work. That's why they're their own section. Specific standards, so I think they did a pretty good job. I don't know if Olivia, if you were here when
I think this, it's definitely here, and I think it was done under the Boundary Street, because I remember this issue about the fenestration and the windows, because it's on a corner, and it was something about trying to get the windows in the corner and subway, and there might have been a hood, I don't know, but I say this was done under or previous form-based code, like the precursor.
So what we're adding is we'd be wanting a more pedestrian oriented entry onto Main Street, which they've kind of done, but I don't know if they've done that well.
Right, as I look at this, I'm trying to imagine what else they could have done.
Yeah, it's, I think this is kind of what we're looking for, just maybe a little more defined, because, to them, to a gas station, right, your main entrance is from the canopy to the, snack bar there, so.
Well, wasn't
So-
the original design for that front part to be sort of like a little restaurant?
Yeah, I think it was.
But I think that they kind of opened it during the pandemic, and then things might have changed because nobody was going anywhere.
So I mean, this is what the code's trying to do, is trying to create similar drive-throughs to this. Now, if you go down on page 45, so we talked about that in the yellow one. Okay, so we talked about that, just keep going with that. And then great relationship, and then we've added B, which was pretty controversial when I first started here, is the and you just heard the presentation from Adam there, automobiles shall not pass between the building and the street. So if, this is again, drive-throughs, gas stations, et cetera. So I think just trying to make that crystal clear that, you can't put a drive-through lane or any kind of ordering lane, like the Chipotle or whatever it may be. Between the building and the street. However, if there was a liner building, you could. And then we've added the outdoor seating, small plaza areas, kind of similar to the discussion that he had. I think good example. We're trying to, and that you saw from the picture that they have a little patio. I don't think I've ever seen anybody using it at the end market, but we want to encourage that. We also want to make sure that the car wash bays, that building, that such a great example is, they have a car wash in the back. And you can't, the bays are oriented away from the street, so you kind of forget that it's there. This is for drive-throughs and car washes. So again, if you remember a year ago, you had a person on 21 trying to do a car wash. That was problematic, right? So, and because we didn't want the bay door. So we're just trying to kind of, so we got E is for a standalone car wash, not associated with a fuel station. So we just want to make sure that it's screened with a liner building or away from a primary street. Now, if you remember in that discussion, we had multiple references. I think we were just trying to make this super clear in the future. So, for everyone, but Libby, I think, was on that board, and they were creating like a false Christopher here, right? Car wash that is on 21. Yeah. They were creating like that little 12-foot wide false front for storage that was kind of block it, and there was just a lot of argument. So I think we're just trying to make sure that this for all districts, this is the way it is. So it's RMX, you still have to screen your car wash from the street. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody okay with this? All right, well, let's keep going on. And then, scale and proportion. It's kind of similar to that conversation that we had with that car wash place is, we were trying to break up their mass and their scale. That was kind of like a box. And so, trying to make that a little more urban or as well.
How do you, Kurt, where do you address the quick lube and tire stores? Should they be addressed in the same fashion as car washes because they have the pass through? And my experience having represented a bunch of them with, they end up during the summer months, especially, they keep the doors open all the time because it gets so hot in there.
That's a
So you really need to figure that one out, because otherwise, if you don't address it, you'll get the impression from when they come in as though, it's appropriate, but it's no more appropriate than a car wash door being open on the main street.
There is a reference to chapter 3 about that, but this actually would be suitable, so maybe you should put car wash through and slash oil changes.
Yeah, because the bay is, the only thing really different is instead of being like a single bay, there's multiple bays and they're shorter, but the same concept of come in the front and the back and go out the front, or vice versa.
Okay, I think that.
And they're proliferating almost as much as car washes.
Yeah, the one over by the by this whole area that went up, we try to have her what's it even called? Like a 5-minute take five. We try to have their bays basically not face the street, so they had to build a little minor building. Their building it used to be, but everybody knows what we're talking about. So they built a liner building, which is just for rent. It's been for rent. They built it, but kind of screened the bays. So
I don't know if you have to have a liner building, or you just have to have the building sideways.
Yeah, see it there. That was the best. I think.
It would be nice to require some kind of screening, because I'm thinking of that one that's by by Lowe's, on the same side of the street as Lowe's. I mean, they're building sideways. And then, you know, they got all those bays there, that are always open.
Tire company.
Yeah.
Discount tire.
This one, right, and I mean,
It's a nice looking building.
it is, but you need some kind of landscaping or something.
Yeah.
To screen that part that, where the cars are waiting around in the open base are visible. I don't think you need a liner building,
Right. Let's see, well, there they got it there.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. You
That- if
don't
that
really see
looks-
this stuff there.
So
but that's
and I
then
think,
with this,
I think we can add that without too much of a change, so if you wanna add
So we can call it
quick
all
loop or.
vehicle service oriented
Sure, we could do that.
facilities.
Yeah.
That's a good term.
Makes sense.
Okay. And that didn't really have the fenestration that we'd be looking for, but I don't, you know, that was, I don't know when that was built. Looks there. That's good. Still not bad. The worst side. It is kind of screened from the street.
I already got the green wall.
Maybe that was the compromise
Yeah.
for the windows too, for these.
How do you get in and out, you back, you go in and back out or? where's-
Yeah, you have to
there's a
turn around.
driveway down.
Let's drive.
There's a circular drive there. You
Yeah.
can pull in and loop around and come back out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so you don't go in one side and out the other side, or do you?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
there's the drive right there.
Yeah,
I just-
how do you get into the bays? Yeah, you pull into the bays and back out of the bays.
Oh, you back out,
But-
okay.
but in Floyd-
Cause almost all the others, you know, they like to go through them.
Right.
Well, this is a little different,
Yeah.
because it's only employees pulling cars in and out of those bays.
Oh, yeah, that's an entire storage.
That's a tire store, yeah.
So you can see it works, so we'll add that to this, and I think all these
Yeah.
standards would work, and we'll
Yeah.
just, that's a good comment.
I got a good deal on tires there.
All right, well, we'll add that, you know, again, as you all know.
His tires, and they didn't have it, they upgraded it. It was an arm's length transaction. They do, like Goodyear used to do, when the Goodyear closed, I was very upset.
We'll send your contact details to Mark and to.
Yeah.
All right, so if everybody's okay with the drive-throughs, and we think that we've. Ran vernacular standards, we have. Clarifying the fenestration, I kind of talked about that, so 40% transparent vision glass that allows direct and through visibility. Not tinted, mirrored, or spandrel glass, because if there is ever a desire for spandrel glass or tinted glass, it usually is like the drive-through or the, because they're. Functionally, it usually doesn't work with their building, so they're always proposing something like this, and you know, that's.
On the bottom of page 46. There's a sentence here that says, see definition of transparency below. Should that word transparency be the capital T because it's a defined term?
Well, I think that needs to be deleted because we redefined transparency in the another part of this, so that's an error line there. Sorry.
So do A and B go or just B?
Just the C definition, because I think we already talked about in the general definitions, but in the general section, we redefined transparency to basically fenestration.
So there is no, okay, so we could just take that sentence out.
Because before it was transparency, it was wanting windows, but you know, it really should be fenestration because you know. So yeah, we changed that in the other section chapter, but which we can come back to.
Do we need to cross-reference the section, like put the section?
We could cross-reference, that's a good point, so let's just mark this down for.
Then you go down to D on page 47. It says blank walls are prohibited along public streets. That needs a little definition. Because the case that we just looked at had blank wall.
Yeah, I don't think we would allow that now. What would you, we were trying to prevent,
But it's like how much blank wall to.
yeah, I think that's gonna be what you're.
There's certain length, I think.
Blank walls printed, for a drive-through facility, that's not as large as a Wright's building, they're usually like 40 feet span. So this would be able, the whole building would be 40 feet, so. What do you think?
I think you need to limit blank walls and then.
So no more than,
I guess, what does it mean by blank wall? Just like a,
no
like a single
penetration or
surface
no-
or
no,
like
like
single
several
material?
or something?
It's under the fenestration
What would you like to-
section, so
So maybe instead of blank walls, we call it windowless walls or something?
Go back to
Fenestrationless walls?
that did have a little window, didn't it? I mean, is that the one you're speaking of that?
well, that one has probably, what, 80 to 100 feet of blank wall.
Yeah.
But they decorated it.
100.
Right, I think that was the compromise, and up at the corner, they do have, I guess,
Yeah.
Where the awning
or
is,
they do.
I don't know, I just,
I just wonder if we shouldn't quantify what we're asking for.
I mean, because if we're saying 40% penetration, I mean, they could do 60% blank wall.
And I don't know if they-
I see what you're saying.
that's a good,
Is that, I mean,
I mean,
is
if you
that
go
a
to
blank
this-
wall, really?
If you go to scale and proportion, we're already, which was above this, it says the breakdown along facades, bays, porches, pilasters, or window groupings to create rhythm and scale, so. Right there, number A, so, I think this one's just to kind of reinforce that in a way.
I think because this is gonna go through design review with the board, that it could be a discussion about blank. I mean, like, we're looking at this, it's not exactly blank. I mean, it does have a window and it does have the greenery, and I don't know, so that
And-
to
and
be
there-
where it worked out, and maybe, because it seems like everybody thinks that's. Okay.
I do, I mean, and in that building in particular, or any out of service type of building, to use vehicle service building, to use Mike's term, those are the backs of the bays. That's, so you want windows looking into the backs of the bays? I don't know, I mean, I think blank is a problematic term. And I think that we maybe might want to consider allowing decorative features to substitute for actual windows in certain types of uses.
I guess I was sort of saying the same thing, but different, that I think the wording is sort of okay, because somebody could say back to that picture was not a blank wall, and we, sounds like at least some of us would agree,
With those-
so,
those,
yeah, yeah.
brick.
So.
And this is really for fenestration and transparency requirement, it's just, builds on that rhythm and scale, so I mean, maybe it could just be removed, because we're basically saying you have to provide 40% transparency, you have to do all these treatments. Rhythm and scale.
Get rid of D.
I mean, I think we're kind of saying that with everything without needing to explicitly prohibit it, I think that's all, like, it already explicitly.
During design review.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's-
Okay, so let's move D.
Well, if you got authority to exact tribute to design review, I mean, we don't have the authority to just do anything willy-nilly, arbitrarily. That's why we write these standards.
Well, I think what we're saying is that if we have the fenestration requirement, so we don't need to also say blank walls are prohibited.
You have yeah, and you also have that scale requirement where you have to break up the wall plane already, which was right above it, so I think you have a fair amount of discretion here to prevent a blank wall.
We've got some local examples to use for people to say, you know, will this work for them, this, you know, would this something similar work for you?
Okay, that's pretty much it with that 4.5.12. Yeah, you didn't like the picture of the Starbucks. It is a nightmare for the drive through. I shouldn't say that because now Starbucks is not gonna, they're gonna be mad. Whereas you guys, you made them all happy. So. It's a nice building though. I mean, it's almost there. I mean, everything that's wrong with it is the stacking and the fact it's. You know, that's the problem. Building itself is works, but anyway, we will find another example for that.
Maybe it doesn't need a picture, I think,
Yeah.
people know what drive, and this picture doesn't even show the drive through.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
For the picture.
And we don't want to show that drive-through. Be backed up in the boundary. So we're saying a different, either no picture or a different picture. We're gonna try to find it. Yeah. That was. Already been brought up.
How about the down the road? The giant drive-through.
Do they have coffee?
Never ordered coffee.
Ever seen anybody?
Once or.
Sorry. All right, so we'll remove the picture, but this is just drive-throughs only, right? So. Last one was gas stations, car washes,
So is there,
now.
just on drive-throughs, question, is there a pending lawsuit right now about the Dunkin' Donuts on Ladies Island? Is there litigation pending on that?
If there is, it's with the county because that was a county property, not a
Okay.
city.
Okay. And I do not know what the problem with that Dunkin' Donuts was it?
I think they want to do a drive-through and I don't know the reasons why the county said they couldn't do it.
President, but they have formed back out into a very, very busy road.
Probably, so I am.
It's like Chick-fil-A
It's actually not bad,
it's
but
getting better.
that Dunkin', that show has all.
As you know,
Staying.
it's really hit or miss as you go down Sea Island. It's like some properties are in the city, some are in the county. It's like hard to. Just have to look them out. No rhyme or reason. So,
Sorry,
yeah, that's in the county.
I just thought it
Yeah, there you
was
go.
something that we knew about that, you know, was the subject of litigation. We might want to keep that in mind and
Yeah, you're right.
while we're regulating.
I think it's on the other side of the street. So what are we looking at here? Oh, so if I see T-Bound, you see that's the city of Beaufort, I take it. Maybe it's colored as the city of Beaufort.
Oh, everything else is counting, no, okay.
So that
Kind of,
Well, so the school is in the city, and then you have some county, then you go back into the city?
so there's no rhyme or reason on that, but the schools are all in the city, so.
Well, you can also annex through sidelines in South Carolina, but if you can see across the marsh to the airport, that's reason enough for you to say that's the city right there.
So can we go to, speaking of
Okay, so we're on
drive-through,
drive-through, so we.
can we go to, on that, satellite, go to the, boundary and Robert Small? I kind of want to point out a couple things.
Just want the zone after this.
Yeah, just, I mean, like a bad example of drive-through, like that Dunkin' Donut here, you know, and that Chick-fil-A is like kind of opposite of what I think we're trying to do, you know, with engaging these corners. So I kind of made a note that to propose that, what do you guys think about prohibiting drive-throughs within 250 feet of major intersections based on the street hierarchy diagrams?
I think that's a good idea. Do we require drive-throughs to be on a corner?
No, I think that's what he's bringing up from a, well, we haven't finished an engineer, you're a traffic engineer. It makes it pretty hard to do a drive-through, but.
They work better on a corner, I'll just jump in, I mean, just think about circulation,
I think,
otherwise
yeah.
you gotta.
Then she suggested that we
think you want to
restrict drive-throughs to 250 feet from a major intersection.
I don't think that's all worth it.
I think the problem,
We have proposed it, we just.
Well,
the curb
his
cut right
proposal
here.
is not just corner.
that's the
so
problem,
it's major.
because traffic backs out into.
That's right, yeah. It has to do with access and the businesses. Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, you're gonna have that back up. There's gonna be certain other businesses that it's simply just not a problem. And I know that you can always change whatever ownership is. But it honestly has more to do with access on the major roadway.
That's a little stacking volume problem.
Correct.
Well, my recollection is that one of our recent meetings, I think I know we talked about it, because I remember I did, requiring, stacking, studies, drive-throughs.
Right.
And so, you're gonna deal with the problems created with like a Chick-fil-A, which is really almost unique by virtue of the fact, as long as we continue to require them, just say, for example, that there was some really low impact old drive-through at that location, and then and it somehow managed to work with limited stacking, and then later on, they go out of business and a Chick-fil-A comes in, they should have to still comply with our requirement for a stacking study, and if they can't comply, they can't fit into that site.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think that's, okay, so let's just go back to this because it's kind of in there, we can just flesh this out a little more. So this whole thing should have been yellow, I'll be honest, all the red is negative, this is pretty much completely different. So, obviously, adding your general architectural design and low country standard that we've added to every section. So again, every use, you're trying to make it more of the Beaufort vernacular, right, the low country vernacular, but then you just go up a little bit. There you go. Sorry, that's okay. Let's just go through each one because there is a statement on that we can, expand upon that. So again, they have to front the primary street frontage, pedestrian entry going west to go again, primary street frontage with direct access. So that makes some sense. I think everybody's agreeing on that, right? So let's keep going down. Drive-through lanes shall be located to the side or rear of the building. Everybody agree on that, some more. It's like the last one, drive-through lanes in front of the building. Okay, and
Well,
then,
like Chick-fil-A has lanes in front of the building.
yeah, they were pre.
They were built, the original Chick-fil-A was built before the form-based code, and then they added that other drive-through lane at a time when it was different.
Paul said at our recent meeting, there's quite a long story to it if you want to hear it.
Yeah, but the original building was put there before the form-based code,
Okay, so
under
under,
its drive-through.
under the code as it is right now, the Chick-fil-A model, our Chick-fil-A model could not be.
Right,
used. Okay.
I
We
mean,
did not.
not that site plan, you could do a Chick-fil-A, but it would be.
Would have to be
organized
yeah.
different, yeah.
And to their credit, they have quite a bit of stacking.
Yeah, because it was really before that, and I'm not saying they should have done it, but you'll remember it really backed up on Boundary, it was bad news.
And we also worked with Dunkin' Donuts in the last, we helped with their redesign, so it's about as good, it's an existing building, so it's gotten a lot better, if you haven't noticed. It's pretty much taking the traffic off the streets.
That's right.
Getting back to Benji's idea, about, limiting at intersections, could we limit the number of drive-through restaurants that could be at a given intersection? So you don't have 4 drive-throughs all at the same intersection?
I mean, you could do that, I mean, it's just,
I don't know what the problem, if they all end up looking and functioning, and look okay, I think the McDonald's, for example, looks fine. And then they function, like Chick-fil-A now does. Now, again, it's not appropriate for that site, you know, under our current design, but if they end up functioning where they don't, and I don't know, what's.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do here.
So what if they're on
The
full?
form-based code's trying to make them work
After,
without.
after G on here, I think G reads okay, but then I added another letter in here and I said a traffic study shall be made to substantiate the proposed stacking design.
Sure, let's just,
And
if
as
you
long as
don't
you
mind,
do that,
you don't mind me going through this, so. We got the B, I think for everybody then, which is rear on the side, then we're just making this very clear, because right, there was a lot of controversy before I got here. And I think there were text amendments and lawsuits, and appeals and newspaper articles, and, you know, I think C is just trying to make it really clear, and then D is making it even clearer, so that you can't do like the border lane, you know, that was like a controversy. You have to do full day, so it's, you know, that's what there's concern about the drive-through, you can't put the drive-through in front of it, so maybe it lessens the impact of the drive-through, it just makes it look like a regular building, so. Is everybody okay with that? And the drive-through windows and canopies and E can't be seen from a direct view of the street. So, but they can use fencing, landscaping, et cetera, to screen that. That makes sense. Then queuing lanes shall be designed to minimize visual impact of the public right of way. So that's that, you know, what we were just talking about. So,
Right.
and then G, adequate internal stacking lanes. So I think that's where we can add what Bill stated, that you have to provide a stacking
no,
analysis.
I think G is fine as it is.
Okay.
But I would add another letter after G, and that was what I was saying, a
Okay.
traffic study shall be made to substantiate the proposed stacking design.
Or,
And I think that in and of itself, trying to limit the number of drive-throughs in a particular area, I think this will tend to limit whatever you need to do with.
I would just call it a stacking, that
Yes.
is differentiated from traffic study.
But.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said traffic.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying, it can maybe just be put to G as, you know, as just another clause there, or.
Well, yeah, so you don't have to renumber, you can add it into that.
Yeah, let's just
section, however you
add
wanna
it
do
to-
that.
Can you explain to me the difference between
G.
exactly a stacking study?
Well, so when I talked about it recently, what I was talking about is, for example,
Q analysis.
well, it's, yeah, the same, I've sort of called both, but they're the same thing. So a Q analysis stack, I mean, you might say Q analysis stack.
Put stacking slash.
And so
Q
what
analysis.
the idea is that they then have to come up with, because every one of these. Let's wait till Kurt's done that. Every one of these Q analysis stacking studies are different based on the different restaurants. And so they have to come up with evidence from other examples at other locations that substantiate based on the design of this restaurant with their name on it, that they can show at, you know, the peak hour, that they have adequate stacking for that, and they have to demonstrate to us, and they know how to do it because there's a standard way of doing those.
So does adequate stacking mean that all their lines are contained within their site?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, and so there's no
Yeah,
spillover out
Exactly.
into the impact general traffic.
right,
Okay.
and you know, they're gonna show those to us, and they have to satisfy us. And so we will have the right to look at it and say, well, those numbers just don't look right based on my experience with X restaurant.
Okay.
And just a reminder, the TIA, traffic impact analysis, is required for any use that generates over 50 peak hour trips. So I would say any drive-through. Something like that.
It's just a typical TIA is gonna have a Q analysis.
No, yeah,
So
this is separate.
Right, but what do
it's
you
just
think?
separate. But you could have a
I mean-
non-popular drive-through come in, but you wanna just require a traffic TIA, you know, you could have a. I don't know, you know, Hardee's isn't exactly like a. closed company. They could probably draw up you know, a small coffee shop that you see a lot around now, like different, like not a Starbucks, but they don't have the interior space, it's just.
Yeah.
To go, that, you know, what we're finding, we had one or two come in the last year and they're coming and they're saying, oh, we have like 48 unit hour trips, we have 48 now, so it's right under. So I mean, you could just say any drive-through means a TIA. I think that's reasonable. They should.
And just to, but the current TIA thing does say that they need to look at things, requirements for adequate driveway design, including but not limited to sitting raise and stacking distance. So it doesn't hurt to repeat it, but I think, it's already, you've already got it covered.
No, I would,
So,
would do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I already thought about that.
No, yeah, and those will have stacking.
We
We
still
have
want that step.
stacking,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we redid the TIA, months ago.
Yeah.
So it's actually the best in the whole area. Yeah, it's 50 peak hour trips.
Perfect.
But would you agree, since you're a traffic engineer, so we might as well utilize you. Do you agree that any drive-through should just have a TIA no matter what?
Probably a good idea.
Well, I think if it's a low volume restaurant and it has they're claiming less than 50 peak hour trips, I think you could look at that queue analysis. And the problem you're gonna get into is what if it's a one-off or there is no historical data to look at how much queuing that particular spot has. So,
So I'm thinking of that restaurant, well, I don't even know if it's open right now, but it's been several things. It's in the shopping center that has,
Sunshine Cafe.
it's right on the end. It used to be, it was like fresh something, and then it was like a chicken place, and it was a hot dog place for a while. It's right on the end. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean in, it's like Boba's Chicken over by the food line? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
It has a little,
yes.
yeah. it used to
And
be-
they have a little drive-through thing
Yeah,
there,
they do.
right?
They have a
on the-
little order window. On the side.
I don't know if everybody
Yeah,
uses
chicken,
it.
Boba's Chicken.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. They're not gonna generate 50 peak hour.
Well, but that is supposedly a one-way street there, which is, nobody follows that rule, as far as I can tell.
When you see people, is it one way going out away from the picture? Yeah, you can only go that way.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody, no, I use it all the time.
Really?
I go the wrong way
You go
every
wrong
single
way.
time. I come in that way. Yeah. So, I mean, is that something that we want to encourage, a little something like that? I mean, again, low volume, but
that's where I think you can have some discretion and wouldn't necessarily require a TIA, but you could look at that queuing analysis because it doesn't make sense for this particular case.
could be
Because it-
allow an
because it-
exception to be made by the
Well,
administrator.
you
or the
could say, a TIA shall be required except at the discretion of the planning commission under certain as identified by the planning commission.
I think require it unless accepted by the planning commission. And that way, a low volume little place like that, we might want to consider doing that.
Because a TIA is gonna cost them
A lot.
thousands of dollars, and again, does it make sense for something like this versus them just proving, what's their typical queue?
I mean, this is off the main drag. It's it's a small place.
Delicious chicken.
I haven't had the chicken off the drag.
And by the time it gets to the planning commission, and then the planning commission says do a TIA, then that's all the money and all the time. I don't know, it just seems like if one's gonna be required, it should be staff when they come to the pre-app.
That's what I'm
So they can-
saying.
Yeah.
Require it unless there's an exception made.
No. Just want to stay with the 50 trip.
Right now, we have a 50 and you all apparently think that's too low a bar, is that?
No,
Too high a bar, too high a bar?
Could be unless, it could be, maybe just you have the administrator's discretion. You have the 50,
Yeah.
then you can add,
If you wanna lower it,
you had David, He probably would have just waived it, so you don't want to give the administrator.
So you're gonna say, so you have that at 50 unless, uh, because of special circumstances, the administrator decides that one should be required anyway. Do that, that's fine. Yeah, that comes Kim, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The administrator doesn't say you don't do.
Right.
You,
Yeah, so that allows you to do it.
The administrator lowers the threshold to 50.
Yeah, and say under special, and you'll just determine what those are. It could be a funky location, you know.
Yeah.
Is that language going there then, or is it going to go into that section where we have TIA?
I think it would go in.
Well, it's already required by, yeah, so.
So just to be clear, we're gonna have the TAA that we've just been talking about, plus the stacking study.
No. Yeah, what,
We would always require a stacking study.
Or drop.
What about for a little drive-through like the one we were just looking at?
I think it's always good to do
I
the
think
viewing
you
analysis or
always-
task stacking study, because they, you know, if it's the only one of the kind, they can still come up with something, you know. They don't have, they can come up with something that'll satisfy Kurt and then us, you
And
know.
that's grandfathered in, so
Yeah.
it's always gonna be a rotate. I don't think anybody's gonna change use there, so it's not gonna trigger, full-
So then Joe got this section.
We're gonna have to wordsmith this, but just make a note, like a TIA was required, special administrator on the. Well. Under a certain threshold, you know, like. Certain. We'll just have to-
Not that it matters, but I looked up, the Enmark and the Chick-fil-A were built in 2003. So that was before the Boundary Street code, but obviously that was being thought of, so the way they were designed, so.
So you already talked about the original Chick-fil-A?
And I think at some point, when they gave it like a facelift and added another drive-through, 2021, it says.
Right.
It happened, yeah. Added on. But it
Okay.
started in 2003.
And then, you know. What you were all talking, what was presented at the beginning is we're trying to encourage pedestrian activation through the use of drive-through. I mean, dining areas, wraparound porches or awnings, et cetera. Patios should be a minimum of 12 foot in depth. This is all sound. These should be now not encroaching any required sidewalk or street buffer. So does this make some sense? We want to allow that.
Where are you reading?
Where are we now?
Yeah.
We are, oh, so, okay, so we did the TIA, that was right after the stacking viewing study.
Okay,
And there's pedestrian walk-up windows are encouraged.
Yeah.
And then you got the public frontage pedestrian activation, which was kind of similar to what Mr. Beery was talking about, of trying to encourage people to have outdoor dining areas and that, you know, along the street. That sounds good to everybody.
Yeah.
Was encouraged, not required, encouraged. Gotta be 12 foot in depth. Is that? I think you can get 2 tables out there with that, so. All right, then we got some special architectural requirements. Jeremy kind of put this together, so our staff consulting architect, so. Let's just look through all this here.
On B under that,
Sure.
architectural designs that are used to represent corporate identities are, I would strike strongly discouraged and say not allowed within the city of Beaufort. Strongly discouraged doesn't mean anything to me.
Everybody agree with that? Say that again. On B, on the screen that Nick has highlighted, with the gray.
Architectural designs that are used to represent corporate identity are,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with corporate identity anyway. I mean, there's a lot of nice, I mean, look at when we were just looking at that Starbucks. Well, that's corporate identity. Looks great. You know, I mean, the McDonald's that, you know, on the corner is pretty nice looking McDonald's. I don't know why you would want to encourage it. I think that the new Culver's looks terrific.
Well, the Culvers is what Applebee's, right? So it's just.
But I mean, but those are its corporate colors.
Well, I think the goal here from talking to Jeremy is, the thought is the building should stand on its own, right? And so if Culvers go, if McDonald's goes away, then the building should easily fit into the fabric and some,
But I'm all saying, is
Starbucks
every
can go in there, it doesn't.
every company has certain design elements, color, the front predominant one. And, that's mostly when you really get around to it. And then some might have an arch, kind of thing that's, they'll have some, we like shutters or something, and they'll put an arch in the shutters, so what,
Well, I think of the Sonic, remember with the design review? That Sonic guy, well, I mean, they really wanted to have certain design elements because all of the Sonics had these things. And they were painted certain colors, there was like red and yellow, that's what they really, really wanted. And there was a compromise was reached with that, so.
Well, this gives you enough, I think it's strongly discouraged, so it's not saying no.
To me, that doesn't mean a thing. I come from an area that, people wanted to come there, and people are starting to want to put their facilities here now. And so when you say, we're not gonna allow you to just put your corporate identity out there, then they negotiate with you and you work with them to come up with something that's appropriate. Other places like ours is becoming, can do that easily, and they'll change their corporate designs to try and make it work with you. And to just say, you can just go do whatever you want.
No, I'm not saying do that, I'm
No,
just
that's
thinking,
what we're saying here, strongly discouraged. That
well,
means you can do what you want.
Not really, because, I'll say this. If the code says that they're strongly discouraged, doesn't that kind of imply that if somebody came in with their standard corporate image, it would be disapproved, it would never be allowed?
Not legally. Not legally.
I think the problem with what Mike is maybe getting at is it's not a clear standard. It's not a bright line. It opens up to wide discretion as to what, that means. So
aren't we're trying to assure that everything is sort of fits a low country or Beaufort vernacular.
Correct.
And we don't have a problem if there's a corporate identity associated with the building, as long as it adapts to local vernacular. And could I say it that way, Mike?
And the last.
So that as long as they adapt our vernacular, we don't have a problem with.
Well, then it needs to be reworded.
Yeah.
I think the last sentence in that particular paragraph really deals with it. It says that corporate logo branding shall be expressed only through signage, not through building form, materials, or colors.
But even.
Well, I don't even like that.
I
The
think
color
that's,
is problematic.
I just think it needs to be reworded so that, obviously, they're gonna get some kind of corporate identity in there. They have to, otherwise they can't sell whatever they're selling.
So what's
It's just
the
that it
will of
needs
the
to be-
majority here? I think that's the better, do you want to prohibit or do you want to rewrite this and have like a carve out? Because I think if anybody's been at Sedona, there's a McDonald's. That looks like, that looks like, everything else, so they'll do it.
I used to build gas stations for a living, and if a municipality had a corporate, I had a requirement that only certain colors could be used for the building, you would, use those colors in the building. But I don't think I ever ran into a situation where you couldn't put a sign on the building that said MOBIL. Now, you may have to do it in a different color.
Right, and they're gonna figure out how to do that. I just think this needs to be reworded so that we have stronger language in here, that it needs to be consistent and coordinated with the low country vernacular.
Well, then why don't we say corporate logos and branding shall only be expressed in association with the low country, vernacular architecture.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
Well, I think that's what this was intended.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know
That's
what
fine.
we're looking for, so we have.
Because part of this is what it says, and,
Yeah. This one I just think made it went too far and, because it basically said not through colors. Well, colors are important in these companies, probably more than anything. So, but what we're trying to say, just again, I think, is that we want the Low Country vernacular representative in virtually everything, right?
Yes,
Housing, apartments, you know, retail design, and you can adapt your corporate colors and logos. You can express them in the Low Country vernacular. That then gives it up, then that leaves it to staff and ultimately to us to look at those and say, well, it seems like I can't even identify the Low Country vernacular here because there's so much corporate branding. Tone it down, right?
When you guys think of like the Wendy's, you know, they have kind of this wall that sticks up. And it's usually red, so that's kind of like a corporate identity for Wendy's. So would that be, and I mean, there's nothing, you know, vernacular
About that.
about that.
Well,
Well,
then-
different shades of red. I mean, they're red, but then you could, spectrum, so you could have a different red, if that was objection.
I wonder if we could find somewhere some examples of where a corporation has adapted to a local, because one company that comes to mind is Parker's. Parker's,
They do a really good job.
they put up a lot of buildings, you still know it's a Parker's, there's a Parker's sign. But their building architecture, I think, so I don't know how often you get to Bluffton, but if you're heading, if you think about it, if you're heading westbound on 278, just before you get to the ramp to head to 170, coming back towards Beaufort, there is a Parker's that they just built that looks very, very, very Low Country.
The one at the new shopping center, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it helps at their headquarters at some point.
Right.
Yes,
Yes,
I mean, that's,
Yeah,
they understand.
Yeah.
Country.
and again, everything's gonna come through design review board, I mean, almost everything, so that's where the discussions can get really gets detailed about things, so to me, saying strongly discourage, I mean, that's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Language right there, and if it's still not working, then at the design review board, say, I'm sorry, but this really isn't consistent.
I'd rather see it reworded so that they know that they're having to deal with the Low Country.
How about, what if we reworded it as follows? Keep the first sentence the same, and then say, used to represent corporate identity must be adapted to Low Country vernacular.
Okay. What sentence you in now?
I'm in B. First sentence stays the same, and then corporate, and then the second line would be corporate identity must be adapted to Low Country vernacular.
Yeah, and that's the idea. Now, do we have that same basic?
Cross-reference.
We have that same basic language then under gas stations, car washes, drive-through, you know, tire stores and all that stuff.
I mean, I think
We don't want it to
we have
just-
Low Country, we have the local design in every section, but Low Country, but we can add that. I think we can add that to every section.
Yeah, you do it,
Commercial section.
you do it in the commercial section so that doesn't just apply to the restaurants, but to all of them.
Once we start getting people to start doing that, then it'll be customary of new people coming in or know that they have to comply with it.
Right, I'll just make it produce more positive.
One thing, if you're gonna use the same wording about for the architectural design and the Low Country, all this, the Low Country descriptions, if you're gonna use the exact same wording for all the different building types, you might could just say it once and then for the specific building types, reference C section.
Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
have to.
because otherwise it's gonna grow, I mean,
Yeah, we'll
it's
do
gonna
it.
be huge. You say the same thing.
That's something we'll
Yeah.
have to work on. Well, and there's more of this that's, you know, and again, Jeremy put this together and I should have had it here today, but. Then we've got the corporate neon LED border lighting is prohibited, walls are not uninterrupted. So I was trying to think, what would we do with, you know, 20 feet, I think, he was suggesting it taller. So maybe we could maybe use that last section, but, what's a pilot still?
All of us engaged on the wall.
Like that discount tire, those
Yeah.
white things.
It may not be, but it's.
Oh, so
It's just like it looks like.
It's hooked to the wall, it's not freestanding, right?
Everybody likes that, keep going down, everybody, okay, so then we get into the low country roof forms, such as simple gable and overhanging eaves are strongly encouraged.
So wait. What about the neon lighting?
Lighting,
So for example, I was just looking at, as I was driving over here, I saw a neon sign in Papaya saying open, or, I mean, I don't know that are we prohibiting all neon lighting? Or are we prohibiting neon lighting on the exterior of the building? Are we prohibiting
That's not corporate though.
art? That's not corporate, I agree, but
it's for
if we allow some neon lighting, why would we not allow more neon lighting and,
well, you don't have to get a permit for that little sign they put in there.
And
This is for the
arguably-
border, like this is if you're gonna light up.
And arguably, that
Like an
little open
old
sign is
drive-through.
not technically lighting. Because a lighting is something to me that lights like a parking lot, that's a sign.
is neon lighting such that it would light a parking lot? I thought neon lighting was always decorative.
Well, I think isn't this talking about it's running along the roof,
Yeah,
around the
yeah,
windows?
yeah,
Like
or,
that
yeah.
tattoo shop on Rebo has a lot of, I don't know, like, but it's, yeah, I think this is clear about what's where.
Okay.
So the roof forms,
That's repeated in a lot of sections already.
yeah, so are you okay with that because it's encouraged?
I think it's fine.
Okay. Okay. Trying to keep the box-like form. Breaking up long facades. Organized manner of fenestration. Size, single and gang windows are appropriate, should be transparent, fenestration.
These are all readings.
Yeah, they're
Previous
repeat,
section.
but we're trying to, create the same look for everything, right? So that's, I'm not, right, we're trying to create it.
Going back to what Libby said, it would probably be shorter if all of this was, since it's repeated over and over again, should we put that in our general description of design?
I mean, we'll have to think about it, it's just,
Yeah,
I mean, this works, so maybe it's easier just to put it in here instead of trying to, we are referencing it, but that's the whole point of this, is that you got your own specific standard you can go to. Then we got the general standard. I mean, I'm okay with being a little more.
Maybe when it's all the strikeout, when you get a clean copy, it'll jump out to see what could be done in terms of,
yeah,
consolidated. Because right now it's a little hard to.
it would make it easier for somebody looking at the code to say, okay, gotta do all this stuff.
So Lydia, I think
Specific section.
part of the answer to what you just raised is whether or not, even if we had common design principles, are there certain uses that need some things that are specific?
Yeah.
Right,
And
right,
and maybe
That would be the.
that's the
exception.
question, we gotta answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we can tell later on when.
Yeah,
yeah.
That the strikeout goes away and.
Well, we have one there. All right. Civic building. Not too much changing, you can just go to down there.
I have just one issue
Okay, go ahead.
when we talk about civic buildings, and public buildings, schools. I actually am an anti-terrorism force protection expert. And I've been a consultant for New York Yankees, the Mets, NFL stadiums, a lot of federal buildings, courts. And I do anti-terrorism force protection, okay? I think that one of the things I think we should be aware of is when we're designing or having designed any civic buildings or public buildings, we need to have that in mind. I know I brought it up when we were in schools. They did not plan, in my opinion, in the design at this point for advent of having to install stuff like that. And you need to do that in the design stages. So
Like to add something with the.
I don't know.
recommendation?
I don't know if it's something that we want to add, but we could add something, to these public buildings that,
Something that pertains to equipment or?
no, it doesn't have to do necessarily with equipment, but the ability to add that, equipment later on.
So the classic thing is an old courthouse that has no room for a metal detector at the entryway. So it does have something to do with equipment potentially.
It does potentially, but it's mostly a new design. And it has to do with the exterior facilities, things like that.
I mean, if we're not gonna make a standard about what it's gonna look like, it seems that maybe in the application requirements or whatever, when they submit for these kind of buildings uses, they could just become clear with what their plan is. Tell us about it. Have you thought about it? It's here. These are the elements, blah, 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 bring it to our attention. Because I know, I wouldn't be able to, what they should do, but maybe as a design review board, we like to know what they're gonna do.
But we
You know,
did
if they're
talk about that
experts.
with the school.
Right.
I mean, they kind of laid out a lot of the, at the school on Ladies Island that we
Yeah.
reviewed. I mean, so there's, marketplace is probably the wrong word, but there are forces that apply to the applicants that make them want to be cognizant of these types of things. They want to build a school that's going to be safe for the kids. And there's regulations, I'm sure, that impact that they have to comply with. So do we need to do it in our design code? Can we rely on those other forces?
I think we can rely on them, but if I think, one way to deal with the issues you're talking about is what Libby just said, is just ask them to address it in the application.
Yeah.
So they're prepared to answer it.
Right.
Would you like to go down, Nick? I mean, you could maybe, we're not really proposing any changes to the section other than just the number changes because we've added the new section for, split out some things with drive-throughs. So would you want to add just an encouragement at D, like, 5 maybe? Like,
Well, let me
this is
jump
kind
in
of.
under A, there's something called special requirements. I don't know where I am here I'm on page 55, but I mean, special requirements, I don't know, could you
So
be?
that's church and institutional, and there's civic, we could do both. We were creating, now, so church and institutional is a whole new category.
Okay.
So
But something, add like submit plan for.
Yeah.
Here, so whatever the right term is, yeah.
okay, so we report to cover churches in 4.5.14A, in the third line down. It says churches, and I was wondering about that because I wouldn't necessarily consider a church a civic building.
Yeah, that's why we've created the standards.
So do we want to take it out of there? Not,
Oh, is it still in the civic building? That's my
It's-
fault.
it is.
Yeah,
Line
let's,
three.
we were trying to replace this with kind of some better standards.
I think we can do something as simple with civic buildings and, institutions to just say consideration, regarding, security, anti-terrorism, and force protection shall be provided, in your design proposal.
I do need to kind of change the description, or we can maybe just use the new standard.
But like sign off from like the police department, that they look at plans, or like fire department, they look at plans and they.
That's gonna be required anyway.
I would think, wouldn't it?
We have the fire department look at stuff, but not really the police department.
So I don't really want to be approving anything, hey, this building is safe. That it's safe, I mean, and that's something having that really is not
That's
I don't know.
That's, that's,
No, I don't
Right,
think
that's what I mean about.
We're just asking questions.
Yeah.
We're not gonna
Yeah.
give it, the seal of good.
That's why I said consideration.
Yeah.
You can say consideration for
Yeah.
safety protection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think, and then, because who knows what he's gonna be on planning commission, or design commission later on.
Yeah.
I intend to do a presentation to the police department and fire department, about this, just since I have the expertise, I might as well share it, so.
You know, they
But that's-
do, I know the sheriff's department, I've sat through this several times, they do active shooter presentations like all the time.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know, I mean, wouldn't that go together?
No, it's a whole different,
Okay,
it's a whole different thing, but yeah. It's under safety, but
Jump in about civic buildings. It is, civic building is defined in the code, library, museum, theater, cinema, public service building, religious institution.
But
So-
Kurt is just
I
creating.
think, yeah, we gotta remove the religious institution, I think. And the reason was, and this was something I think,
Because I've changed that in the definitions of this.
this is something that we didn't put together, Jeremy put this together, and it came about because we had a few churches, and actually Christopher was really one church. Yeah, we had one before you.
The
got-
Orthodox,
Yeah, we had the little Orthodox church wanting to do like a pretty major renovation, and it just didn't fit with the civic building, which it stated, and they were, and so we were like, well, and then looking at campus architecture, I was like, well, this could improve too, so we had him kind of draft up something for this that he thought would be better, and so that's what he did, and so that was the goal, to create a new category for this, just like we did with the other. So.
especially because with administration requirements, maybe the church doesn't want to have 40% administration because not of a religious background, You never know.
Those are expensive, and doing 40% stained glass windows, I think, is out of the,
Nobody does it anymore, although,
and there's a reason why, just down from me, that little church that's next to the monument.
Mhm.
The lady, that did all of those stained glass windows. Those are leaded stained glass windows. She did all those. They're beautiful designs.
and she's dead.
She died shortly after
oh my,
from lead poisoning.
can you make them without using lead?
I'll show you it now.
Okay,
I'm not sure what they use.
well, they were still wanting to do, because it's an Orthodox church, they were still wanting to do like some stained glass, but they couldn't obviously, they wanted to put them higher, right? Not on the lower floor. To catch all the light, if I remember, right, and it was a very nice design, it was just like, we can't make, it's gonna need like a bunch of variances. to Build a nice looking church, so maybe we should help. do it. So we go through it. You guys would be a good.
is that really section 4.5.154?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that, so it's-
No, it's 1.4. That's a lot of sections, that's all.
It looks like the tax code.
speaking. On page 54, above it, the photo. Is that,
Yeah, we need to get a new photo.
yeah, I'm not sure that's the best.
It's a wonderful building. It's hard to pick a picture of that building because it's so close to the street that it would be difficult. You'd almost have to stand in that planter on the other side of the street and take the picture because you need a super wide angle lens to capture it. By the time you did that, well, there's architectural lenses you can use, but you use a very wide angle lens like that up close to the subject. The columns, instead of vertical, they start to sway out like that. And you usually have to get a special corrective lens. I guess you could do that.
But the building itself is controversial. It is not, I hear a lot of people don't like that building.
It's the only one we got.
Well, true, but people think it's ugly and they think it doesn't fit in Beaufort.
But it's the only one we got.
Nothing fits in view.
It's the only one we got. What else would you use? Fire department? You could
Maybe we
use-
get something from somewhere else, or a drawing.
You could use the old courthouse, county courthouse, which is now the sheriff's department, or the sheriff's.
It's a whole different design.
It's a different design, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
I mean,
our-
you're up on basing,
Yeah.
I mean,
But does that building, it would be a shame to use that, a picture of that building if it doesn't embody all the code requirements that we.
That's true.
You would. Yeah, I would just tell people, I would tell people just to get over it.
Are we okay with leaving it there? Or-
I think we should substitute something else if necessary, a drawing.
Why?
But nothing else has a drawing.
We could just draw something
Well, there's
that
a
we would
drawing.
like.
The drawing right, probably. I mean, we could just,
What work do you have with it?
we could just, get rid of the,
It is our city hall.
No, but I hate to say something bad about our city hall, but that's what I hear from people that.
I've heard people criticize it. I like it, you know,
well, then, I
but I've heard people criticize it, but then people criticize.
Everybody, I'm helping to criticize it.
so we're all okay with leaving it.
Would that comply with the codes that we're writing about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it would, yeah.
Okay,
The mass, the form is symmetrical. It's got columns.
the cupola?
What's that?
Let's go to the new section there.
Yeah, it's out on Burton Hill Road and back up Public Works. And then.
Really?
And it was, suggestions was to be Tilton architecture.
That was where the city hall was gonna be?
Hilltop?
Up out in Burton.
It was a suggestion.
Oh,
Or tilt wall, just take the concrete slab walls and tilt them up.
Oh, yeah.
That
So-
looks- that looks good.
That's what
I
we're doing.
think.
You're parking a big bunch of concrete slabs and you tilt them up in place one
Yep.
by one.
That's what we're doing for the healthcare facility, right?
Well, they're gonna change it, right? They,
Well, that's what we said.
Well, we've had some meetings
To
with
do
them.
that, so.
We've had some meetings with them. Let's see if they. Let's see, we can't talk about that. So let's see. We haven't gotten any new.
so you wanna talk about churches?
All right, so this new section, let's just go down. We'll have to correct all of the staying in the civic building.
So where does it start on 55?
It's 55.
Do you think institutional is, like, would that include like a jail? I mean,
I think we gotta define that.
yeah, just, I don't know.
I was
this
thinking
is-
more like campus or like something. like
Yeah, it could go different ways,
You know,
our church is sort of unique because protections are given by the federal law. And we just deal with them individually and put all the rest of the government buildings together.
Yeah.
I think institution buildings are more like civic buildings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like libraries and such.
Right.
Right, jail.
But just have a protection before it's even built.
Institutional has a connotation that's somewhat like a school educational colleges.
I think of institution, I think of what people used to call crazy house.
Picture the
Well,
beautiful one in Minneapolis.
You know, maybe this is complicated, so maybe we can combine it to civic buildings.
I think church is separate. If we're gonna break like that.
I think
Have the courage to maybe define this for the.
Yeah,
We'll have to rework this then, but you like what we've done here, we've got architectural character, civic expression. Very different. So online, and examples of institutional buildings include schools, hospitals, libraries, museums, prisons, and government offices.
Yeah, hospital.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
Yes, you pointed that out, prisons and schools, very simple. I've never forgotten you said that.
The only change that I had identified beyond 56, not a change, It's just reinforcing draw from low country, and then I inserted vernacular as outlined in previous chapters.
Is there anything about this that you don't like? And we can kind of maybe combine it. Outside the building. Maybe just,
Some things I didn't like.
just separate out the church.
The only thing I'd say is that everything in here is fine. But it kind of repeats similar things we have in other chapters, but it's written differently. That's kind of where I would go.
More spiritual.
Okay.
Being open.
Well, I'll rework this. Jeremy. Move some of this over to the civic building. Keep the church parts. All right, I think we're moving on to building design standards.
It's important. Get strength of this section. Make it reflect the intent of the entire code.
Attention.
And then from that setting, when we go to fourth and one, you start out statements. That's what we had all of the sections about vernacular. That.
And we have those also in the beginning of this chapter that we already went over. I think, yeah, it makes some sense. I'll just reminding you all that it's also been added to the page. Again. Okay, we'll just make it right to that. Page like 6, 5.
Page on 59, or in hand.
You just want to keep going down there.
Under arrangement, location, type of merchandise.
So anybody, you just want to go through this here real quick?
Sure.
I don't think we've ever really talked about this yet, so just having additional garages, accessory structures. Clarifying that, this comes up a lot. Red line.
So this 3 primary colors per facade, that's for the building, not for a sign.
For E, for E, the addition. And about accessory structure, and can only exceed, and I'm thinking about carriage houses, we've got a lot of 1-story. Does this apply to single family? No, maybe not.
Oh, this is general, this is everything.
This is everything, this is just in general, so this is to deal with this, so it's like where a garage contains an accessory
Okay.
dwelling and above.
Okay.
May exceed the height of the
Yeah.
primary. Height of the primary only if the primary structure is 1 story tall and the accessory structure is not visible from the public right away, whereas places far away. That's what we've been trying to do, we just want to clarify it, this comes up all the time for us.
But I mean, in a, again, most of these neighborhoods, Hermitage, Pigeon Point, Mossy Oaks, many 1-story buildings. And now people are interested in building carriage houses, the garage with the dwelling unit above. That's required to be in the back of the house, all good, but it still may be visible from the street. And I just would hate to, the housing person, they cut off that, no, you can't build you can't do the carriage house style, you have to do a.
Yeah, my carriage house, which I think was pretty nice, go by and look, it's not visible from Bay Street, but it is from, I call Sims an alley, because it looks like an alley, it functions like an alley, but it is actually a public street. And it's 2 stories and our main house is 1 story.
That's
You can't really tell.
You can on Sim Street, because that's what you see. Our carriage house blocks our main house on Sims.
Yeah, it'd be difficult in corner lots.
Yeah,
I mean,
So your concern is that this is too strict, so
this is,
there has to be a little bit of wiggle room.
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I would say it would close off the option for carriage houses. It's not visible at all from the street. I mean, a lot of these lots are 125 feet deep. Even if the carriage house is in back of the main house.
So
to me,
there'll be
it's
a little
still
more
visible.
discretionary language.
so just by way of example,
Strongly encouraged.
Kim Petrola's carriage house behind her house, and she's on the historic review board, is a 2-story carriage house,
Very
and her cottage is 1 story. And it sits back, but you can clearly see it from North
Yeah,
Street,
yeah.
and it looks perfectly appropriate.
So maybe we should say if you're gonna have 2 stories, you should put it back as far on the backside of the property as you can.
I don't know.
Are you saying that we shouldn't have this restriction at all?
Just get rid of it, move it and rest.
I get rid of it.
I don't have a problem taking it out. What are reasons to use?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, I see, it's word product, yeah.
I mean, right now it says shall be subordinate, so we were just trying to, because we're kind of doing this in
yeah, you are.
historic district, but we were just trying to clarify it, so, I'm sorry. But, would you like more discretionary language? Because we don't really like, I mean, and this is sort of personal, I guess. Well, from an architectural standpoint, visual standpoint, we don't really want like a, 35-foot high carriage house behind a, 16-foot high.
I think the
Ranch house,
language
you
you
know?
have is, it gives you what you need.
Okay.
The subordinate thing, is pretty clear, I think.
That's always, I mean, that's when people come to TRC meetings and a lot of times we have those carriage house requests. We always say, well, it's a little too high. It's higher than your primary dwelling. It should be subordinate, right? And so the height of the carriage house should kind of, be a little subordinate to your primary. So that's one of the, that's what we always tell them too. Sometimes, sometimes they don't have the depth of the lots, so sometimes they're gonna work with maybe existing vegetation or viewpoints where maybe they can place it differently, or they can place it in a way that it's doesn't stick out too much, maybe,
So should we just get rid of that height and just say subordinate and footprint proportion?
Wouldn't we want this height?
Well, yeah,
I mean, because then you got like this huge, it's like the Roman Carrington Manor, it's like looming over the, like.
But then you could never get a carriage house on a single
Well,
story.
That's the way we're using discretion right now, like, as long as it's kind of obscure, and it's not like we're letting it kind of go, but if it's really obvious, then we're saying that. Does that make sense?
I mean, to me, you could say it may exceed the height of the primary dwelling only if the primary structure is 1 story tall, period. I mean, your standards are gonna put the garage in the back. I mean, it's gotta be in the back if it's new. So, for a single family, so that right there is gonna accept it inside the
Maybe
water.
only if it is 1 story tall and efforts are made to make. It's encouraged that it is, visible from the public right, or is encouraged to be placed in such a way that it's not visible from the public right away, or something of that nature. So it's like you're encouraging it not to be, but you can still. Or you just want to leave it the way it is, and we can just keep going with discretion, turning them all down. But when we get the 2-story, 30-foot high one next to the 16-foot high ranch house, we're saying that's.
Right, I mean, well, it needs to be, I don't know, it needs to be in the back, in the corner, if possible. I don't know, I just would not want to do anything to discourage accessory dwelling units.
I mean, we can just leave it the way it is,
Purchase.
and it seems to be working, so we'll just leave it the way it is.
Well, I agree. I think we should include that. I feel like we've denied so many ADUs because
Oh, really?
it'll be like 3 feet higher than.
Oh, my gosh.
Most high
It's just a historic district.
But it'll
It's different.
be
Different.
like 3 feet taller and, I don't know, it just seems very restrictive. I prefer to allow more.
Could be
Okay.
like a certain percentage of the like primary structure.
Well, the language we always go back to is the subordinate. If it's taller, it's not subordinate baseline, which is,
It's like, you just can't go above, no matter what.
But if you do it that way, you never build one.
well, exact, I mean, that's my issue with it, is it seems too restrictive in my opinion.
Wait, that's only an historic. This is not. Sorry, so I guess we have.
I mean, but that's the historic review.
Yeah, that's the
review board
historic review
call.
board, and they usually don't want to say. Because it's overshadowing like right a historic structure, so it makes some sense.
It says accessory building height is limited, let's say in T3N, whatever, limited to 2 stories in height. Or 30-foot max, so we've already got some sort of maximum on it, doesn't relate here to the.
We'll just take, we'll just leave it.
Don't turn it in.
You really start.
I didn't hear.
And that guy on Hermitage Road, that did like a 35-foot high. That was the next grade.
Well, it was that was, she's trying to put in front.
It was in
It was-
front.
Front,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
North Street.
Well, it's-
You hot lot intersection. Our carriage house.
Oh, yeah.
All right, colors, anybody, colors? That's cool. Are we okay with that kind of thing? Do we want a more colorful society? I'm not sure. No. We're kind of pushing the more, because that's more natural here. What like a. What's up?
I have got some things, because in colors it says that it shall not be painted in a color pattern that expresses corporate identity to the extent that the paint color pattern is not consistent with the design standards of the district. Are these design standards outlined anywhere specifically? Or is it just what's in this paragraph that says as long as it's not safety yellow and whatnot, then corporate colors would be allowable?
Well, there was this discussion, but I don't think we could have that before where we would maybe come up with a colored palette that we could recommend within this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Currently, we don't have that. Because we say, I mean, there are specific colors that are more befitting to the low country and Beaufort traditionally. And it's just a case by case decision, which if it comes to it, the HRB will basically approve of that, so, but it reads like we do have specific color standards or design standards of such in the district, which we don't, not yet. So I'm not sure if we want that or if we take it out or not, so it's a good point. That's only regarding this article, but we're talking design everywhere.
Yes.
I think that the interesting words there are of the district, and I don't know what.
Yeah, I think that's, they're referring to the, like, the historic district, which,
Well, we don't know, because
well, we don't know, I'm assuming, but, yeah.
Well, maybe it means building type standards. This was
Oh,
an
yeah.
existing code. I think that's what they meant. Like, this, what we've been going through, 3.51, 3.52. That's kind of what I think, but
it would make sense to clarify that.
let's clarify that. But it's existing code. I think we just let it go. All right, let's move on. We'll, yeah, just highlight that. We need to clarify it. Let's go to page 60. Fencing is now its own section. Oh, sorry.
Got that. Under H2. Arrangement type of merchandise. A, arrangement, merchandise shall be arranged in space so as to not clutter the front of the property as determined by the administrator. I had an add-on to that: merchandise shall only be located on the property and not on easements.
Well, an easement can be across the property, but you mean on the public right of way. An easement would always be on the properties, but you mean
Yeah,
when these people cross the right of way line, which car dealers always do.
that's where I'm going.
And,
Public right away.
yeah, and they shouldn't be doing that anyway, but they do, but maybe that's helps put an exclamation point behind it.
That works really good.
Huh?
But so just car dealer or a car is merchandise, huh?
Sure is.
Yeah.
They just,
But other, you know, like a Home Depot or Lowe's or somebody can.
they probably.
Some of those kind of shops, Ace Hardware, whatever.
The worst example is
Can do
that, that was, a big Ford dealership out there on the way to.
Oh, see, well.
Yes.
Yeah. The guy, I've never seen a dealer with so many cars and half of them were in the public right away.
We need to have some teeth in there so that, you know, enforcement agent can go out there, point something, and say, hey, get that off there.
That's in the county though.
I know, I'm just saying, that's an example everybody sees every time they go to the airport.
Where is this?
O.C. Welch, the big Ford dealership there on,
Gosh,
what is that, Independence Boulevard or something like that?
that's 278.
78, yeah.
But his problem is he's got too many vehicles on the site for,
They always do, and that's the excuse
Well,
they use. And guess what, buy some more property.
well, I think he actually owns additional property. I think he's trying to get, a permit to, he's surrounded by wetlands behind his dealership, and that's why he's kind of landlocked.
Parks with right away.
So on the next page, under location,
That's page 60.
next page, under location, merchandise shall not be placed on the public sidewalk within the right of way. And then I would cross out without approval of the administrator. Period.
Wait, because downtown, this is downtown, so we've got,
Oh, is this specific?
yeah.
Because we don't mind
Is it D,
Well, is it?
is it, no, wait here. I thought it said
Oh,
first,
okay.
so you're probably better not.
Your revenue wording has been cut off. That's my Oregon County experience right there.
Yeah,
All right.
I thought it said usually, but yeah, we better.
Years ago, when I was the code administrator of Oregon County. Just let's say there was a lot of beach burst stores I had to go to every week. All the time.
So,
Sharks and
what do you
everything.
think about downtown,
Think the lake check.
the public right of way
Right.
right up to the front of the
So,
store, so.
you know, we need a lot of people to put out,
Yeah,
you know, the book sale.
we like it,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Whatever.
One for two, absolutely.
You're right.
Not surprising, like
Experience.
Right,
little
It's a young guy.
sidewalk sales, I don't know.
yeah, we.
Yeah. And if there's ever, they can't. Go to drive for the sidewalk, ADA, so there would be a way.
They start threatening.
But some of those, like I'm thinking of that store that's,
But everybody in Oregon County
the
carries a
soap
gas.
store. It's like a little tiny sidewalk. I don't know if you can have 4 feet and still display stuff out there. You know,
Yeah.
some of those downtown sidewalks are. I don't know, they're not quite ADA.
They're historic.
Yes.
That's what they are.
And I feel like the downtown management group, I don't know, this is being handled, I don't know if we can deal with this.
I think we just,
I think
don't worry about it, yeah.
All right,
I didn't see that.
okay.
I think it's on the advisory committee, and if they need, make recommendations on something, sure, we should consider, but I think right now, we just.
So do we want to just take this out,
That's
all that language about location?
I mean, if it has been a problem. I don't
yeah,
know,
let's
maybe
just leave it in
Yeah.
there.
Well, the downtown district is, what is the designation for downtown district?
T5, VC downtown, yeah.
Yeah, so that is, so it's except for downtown district, this stuff applies.
That way, if there ever was an issue that we wanted to address, we have the language here in the code to do so.
Yeah.
So just leave the language in, but create an exception. for
No,
that.
that's
No,
there.
already is.
It's-
Okay,
the
all right.
exception is there.
Okay,
Um,
so the C doesn't read right. Just put a period
Well,
after,
I guess, oh, sorry, see, the P.
period after public street.
Well, I think that means you can't put it in like the palmetto tree planting,
Plant islands.
yeah,
like
planting strips,
landscape.
plant,
Yeah.
what do you call it, planting
But
beds?
it's grammatically
Oh.
still doesn't
Okay, yeah.
read correctly.
And see,
Or displayed on or in landscape, in planting beds, or something, I don't know.
Or within public landscaping or something.
Maybe just.
Or words. Oh, you got one each. You see it, we're
We have 3C at the top of page 60.
3 to go. Or traditionally, public street
It needs,
furniture. That, yeah, that is weird. Well, they not be displayed on public street.
maybe it needs a comma after public street.
I think public streets, the adjective. furniture.
Yeah, it means a bench, a public bench,
Yeah.
that's what it means, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Right.
Or public, again, the,
Okay, then maybe it should be
Planting islands.
public streets, comma, furniture or landscape.
I think it's talking about
No.
the street furniture,
Right.
is what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Street furniture.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
all right, I misread it.
Now fencing, we created our own new section for fencing.
where is that, just?
On chapter 5 with landscaping, 5.8, actually. Trees and all that stuff. I have this full of tea, so I'm just gonna take that one out. You guys can go on.
Would you like to continue or do a 5-minute break?
What are we, how much are we going today?
10 on one.
I'm trying to finish. But let me just ask, because we're coming back to the earlier part, for example, that long memo that I mean, the memo I sent you about garages and all that stuff. We'll do that on another day.
I mean, it looks like.
Yeah,
That's gonna leave anyway, but
I think we'll have to talk about it, but yeah, the hope was to get through it all at least.
but even going back to that earlier stuff, because I think that'll be a longer discussion.
Yeah, so I mean, we can talk about that after we get to the end, we just got 10 pages.
Yeah, I just have to
Maybe
leave.
we have separate meetings, but, and we.
I do too.
my anniversary.
So,
Oh,
Happy anniversary.
so if we want there to be another anniversary, you can't stay here.
we don't need to celebrate all day, you know, an hour at dinner time, that should be sufficient.
So he's gonna make up a bed for you to sleep when you get.
I'll be at your place.
Really?
Well, happy anniversary.
Thanks. 26. Let's see,
I'll say last year.
every year's big. Oh, we can kind of discuss my next comment, when we go to page 61. Materials 1, and I go down to B. And it says fiber cement board siding, and it says smooth finish. I don't think they now have a lot of different finishes for that fiber cement that are being used. Yeah. So I just delete the smooth finish on that.
Could we, say, the wood finish, or, you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I actually ran into this with renovation to match tiles on my historic building. I had to get the wood grainy looking
Right, yeah.
finish. You know, if I could have used smooth siding, but it wouldn't have matched the siding that was on the historic building. So I don't know.
Why don't you like a wood grain?
It's okay,
Okay, well, we'll go with that. You did that.
You just,
Right?
yeah, it's so, I mean,
Yeah.
and I guess I could tell, but. Everybody's okay with it.
It's just a texture, just different textures that they have now. I think you're gonna continue, I just wouldn't limit ourselves.
What's the thinking about the smooth? Why is that? I mean, you see that,
Yeah.
why?
The historic district standard.
It's like, it's like,
That's a standard in
It's like-
historic district.
more about, you know, honesty material, it's not wood. So why would you?
Cause somebody wants it to look like wood, they want you on the paint. So
That's the American way, man.
That's
right.
For a long time.
All right. That's all we're going to.
What if it was like?
McDonald's, and you call it a hamburger.
Would be okay with it.
I think when you go through a review of in the historic district, you can start to. That they can go with it, but
Yeah.
I just. I wouldn't put smooth finish on there. I just allow the fiber cement
So
forward.
what's the, consultant? I agree with
Yeah,
Mike and Bill. What does everybody else think?
I'm agnostic, I mean, I could go. So-
I mean, I think like when the renovation, like what you're talking about, I mean, I could see that being accepted, because I have fake, you know.
Yeah,
Fiber
big
cement,
wood.
fake wood, and I would replace it to match it. But I think for a new construction, you know, I would just go.
It's on page 62,
So on North Street, right around the corner from my house, there is a house that's being rehabbed right now. And they have put on kind of like a board and batten overlapping, and I'm tempted to stop there and walk and trespass on their property and touch it to see if it's real wood. Because it's a light tan color and it's got very strong wood grain appearance to it, but I've always wondered if it was fake.
They haven't painted it yet. They haven't painted it yet.
I've been waiting to, they're gonna paint it.
Well, then I'm almost sure that's the color of the Hardy plank.
It's like a yellow.
It's yellow. It always,
But don't you always, I mean.
it always is yellow when it comes. Right.
I'm excited.
You paint it, but yeah.
Moving on,
Are we taking out smooth finish?
Yeah.
I can live with that.
Talk about,
Okay,
Now, how about the vinyl windows? Do we, let's go back. We're gonna get rid of the faux wood grains, I think it's still. Will be gone. Are we okay with? getting
Where are
rid of
you
ethos? No one likes ethos. do
The
they?
prohibited materials,
Prohibitive materials.
Where's that?
number 9, page 63,
okay,
663.
oh, wait a minute, let's go to page 62 first.
There's another smooth finish.
They went too quickly. Well, I had him take that out.
Under E at the top of the page, just says brick. I think we ought to have brick, stone, or cast stone in there. All of those.
I thought we hated stone in Beaufort.
Yeah, that's not a traditional material.
Stone.
River Rock.
Well, then you get specific, but
Wow.
it's like historically stone is used in a lot of places, especially foundation.
But not in Beaufort, because there's no stone around here.
I mean, there's other materials as approved by the administrator, so I mean, they can,
There you go.
if they can.
Yes.
I'm curious why we're taking out stucco oysters.
It's not the same thing that you were talking about is the.
Why is
That's not
Tabby
approved.
crossed out?
Because tabby is not. Because the exposed tabby that you see around here is not true to historical norms, because those oyster shells are always covered with.
They're always covered now. They're usually poorly,
So, okay,
they're also usually poorly done.
so we don't want to allow Tabby.
Well, we've done stucco with shells on it, but we're saying we can't even do that.
Well, I mean, if you guys don't want to do that, then you can just put it back in.
I agree with that, because the quote, I would put tabby in quotes because it's not really what was done historically. You never saw shells. Nobody wanted to see
Yeah.
that. They always had it covered with, for a better, more of a better term, plaster or cement. But
Well,
tabby,
but through time,
it weathers.
it weathers and then the shells come out. So we interpret tabby as being the shells that we see.
But that's not what was built originally.
No, that's not how it was built originally, but that's the way we're seeing it now. I know I did my own tabby on my fireplace inside the house.
This is like a historic district thing, so I mean, if you wanna put it back in,
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine, I think it's it's
I think
become
we should
something
keep
here.
Me too. I mean.
Well, how do you-
Tabby and beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that seems, you can't do it there.
Yeah, the thing is, because I remember this coming up, I think on the design review board once.
It did for the sign.
With a sign and somebody said, well, if you look at the Widgeon Point entrance into that park, that's got tabby, how did they approve that? And the answer was, it's in the county, it's not in the city.
Yeah, it was,
I think we let him do it.
yeah, I don't recall.
I
We
think we
did,
did.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean.
I thought it looked good.
But it's not historically correct.
But I mean, if it's.
It's corrected.
If it's not in the historic,
Right, if it's not historic.
It's not allowed in the historic district. That-
Okay,
That's
my
right.
next thing. My next thing is for the PVC for a railing.
What's already in there?
Why do we have PVC for balusters?
That's a good point.
Is that a material that we?
It's in the code already, yeah, I don't think.
It's I like the asterisks, so it's.
So we're talking about PVC.
Permitted on a
Height?
context specific basis.
Well,
Only for this.
the material, yeah, but
It's already in the code, so we can just remove it, and I don't think I've seen
I
illustrated with
I don't see why we
PVC
have
pipe.
that. Let's look,
I mean, it's
there's something somebody knows that I don't know, but
Well, it's. Nope, reminds me of.
Well, I mean, if it doesn't, I mean, let's say it's an attractive color, let's say it's black or, well, it's not like the white thing that is your bathroom pipes, it's something that looks good.
But if you paint that stuff, the paint peels off and it looks.
It breaks down over, like with the heat and the sun we have here, it just,
sunlight breaks it down,
it
UV.
looks horrible after a short time.
Okay,
Let's get rid of it, it's gone.
all right. What about with the other asterisk ones?
Okay, the vinyl windows is probably the biggest issue. This is something that I think Jeremy kind of was really pushing. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Where are you at?
Where is
We're
it?
on a 7.
7 on page,
Now, we have to
63.
remember that this now, in the current code, this only applied to these standards only apply to T4 and T5. So now I think that's proposed to be eliminated. This applies hermitage, mossy oaks,
Right.
affordable housing. I mean, that we really, really, really need to think about this.
Yeah, I agree. I think case by case basis on
This
outside of
is-
historic districts.
Okay, so
A big change.
you're talking about
We
the
can
top
get rid
of
it.
page 63, right?
Let's get rid of it.
All of them.
Yeah. specific there.
What are you getting rid of?
No, yeah,
Just, sorry, the vinyl first, wait.
Well, it says vinyl windows may allow case by case basis.
yeah, let's just get.
So what's wrong with vinyl windows?
In the historic district, it's probably, it's right.
Yeah, let's.
Right,
Well, it's not permitted, right?
Right,
right.
to get rid of the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah, there's some nice vinyl windows.
So when you say just get rid of it, are you talking about just getting rid of the whole paragraph?
Well, it's a new requirement. It's a new proposal.
Okay,
it's
so
not
right
gonna
now,
propose it.
The
Right now, there's
vinyl
no.
windows are okay outside of the historic district, okay.
Yeah. No, it's a suggestion that was made by Lenners, by Jeremy, to be added in, but we're striking that, so we're not going with like number 7 right here.
Okay, so his suggestion was to have a more restrictive requirement than there is right now. Okay,
This is the list of allowable materials, and right now, windows just aren't
Addressed.
addressed.
okay.
So should windows be addressed?
Well, I think we're just assuming any window you put in this.
Is okay?
I mean, there's some other standards with the actual, like,
Like
form
it
of
has
the
to be-
window, but the actual material, I think we're saying.
Has to be impact rated.
Yeah.
Building code has a lot of requirements.
Model windows are a lot cheaper, so.
That's a big cost, about windows, that you have to replace them.
$93,000 to replace my windows on my house.
Really?
How many windows do you have?
44.
Oh, wow.
So we prohibit full wood grain textures, would that take care of Benji's hate for
Yes, that would, actually.
But right now, it's not prohibited. So this would be a change.
Yes.
So I'm not in favor of that.
Next meeting.
Well, because I think that then we get to the question about the hardy siding. Which we already agreed that we were gonna make sure that the siding has to be smooth. So I am against
Like that.
9, 8.
So, would,
Am I right that these standards are gonna apply in all the districts? Because, I mean, that, again, that's gonna increase, I mean, the review time for, plan reviewer. Now they're not just looking at the site plan. You gotta have all the building, elevations, a list of materials, the colors, that's, oh, you
Yeah,
have,
they-
even for like permanent,
Everything.
for what?
All the Salem Bay houses, every elevation of every house.
Well, we've only been doing it since we have staff.
I was saying it wasn't required.
And what did, I don't even know what 9C is.
Divas?
yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible. Maybe we can just, pull it up.
Okay.
It's pretty common in the past.
Yeah, but that
I mean,
is a very low quality, I don't know, I just remember, I'm not an expert at all, but somehow this.
It's prohibited.
That's where we want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or adding a timber ladders.
the old
Siding.
I don't know if it's changed a lot since back then.
What are you talking about?
Ethos,
Evas?
I have some comments on the expert level if you care to hear them.
Who are you?
Nobody really, but my name is Merritt Patterson, I live down on the Old Point, long time contractor.
Say your name again?
Merritt Patterson,
How do you spell that?
MERRITT,
Patterson?
yes, PATTERSON,
You live here with Buford?
yes, for a little while.
If you could make sure you leave your address with Lizzie before you go, so we won't put it in the minutes, but go ahead. Do the second.
Yes.
We know. We got it.
Ethos was a terrible product, had a lot of infiltration, pesticide, lots of massive lawsuits across the country, class action, bankrupted all the people doing what you think and referred to as Ethos, stowed, rose, 6 or 7 countries. One of the attorneys that did that lives over on Spring Island, and they shut down all the companies, shut down the whole products, and re-engineered the whole site and consolidated to one system. The Ethos that had the real problem that are cheap, you can punch it in dent, water getting in all over the place, longer standard. They have to be certified to install it, certified to inspect it. The guy's given warranties on it, inspects the work. A lot of the systems now have water infiltration monitors, which are paid, monitor the Wi-Fi thing. It's a new and different product, different materials, entirely different flashing, water leakage, and all the rest. It has now become relatively a high quality product.
The hard stucco too.
The hard stucco, there's impact stucco, there's all kinds of elements. If you look at that one thing in the middle, it's about 6 layers there. That's kind of what it is today, with a drainage structure, an insulated structure, etc. Well, I'll shorten this. It is not the product you think it is. Before you eliminate it, you should look at new product. The guy will come and explain it and show you a sample to educate you on it. That's part of the thing, educate people what it is, what it isn't, and how do they install it and how do they guarantee it. So you may want to consider that as a qualified product. The other Ethos should be ever installed. This one, I would install in my house even though I wouldn't, because I live on the phone.
I've done lawsuits on.
So do we want
They're
to,
still going on. They're not done.
No.
do we want to make this change?
Could be.
Well,
Well,
it sounds like
the
it's,
change would be to
good.
prohibit it.
Correct.
I don't say the name, they don't want to use the most, it just means expanded, insulated, styrofoam, something. They don't even need that.
So what is that new product called?
I have to look at the name.
But if we prohibit EVIS, that's not prohibited. Because it's not.
So they don't even, it's not available. They have a new name
Oh,
for
I'm
it.
not talking about the new.
The new one. I'm gonna say it's a synthetic stucco something, name for it. I don't.
So
it's not
we're good
even-
with.
So we're okay with keeping EVIS, because we're not gonna prohibit that new product.
I guess, but people don't know the difference between EVIS and the new product. They're one and the same, everybody's mind as you see around.
Well, so I think we need to research and find out the
Yes.
name of the new product and make sure we,
Don't ban it.
Yeah.
right.
You probably had EVIS, the new stuff on it. Yeah.
And just above that, okay, vinyl siding's prohibited. Do we definitely want to prohibit vinyl trim?
Absolutely, I would say so.
Well,
If you don't like the look of vinyl siding, why would you like the look of vinyl trim?
we like the look of the vinyl windows. And you can trim the windows with vinyl trim.
That's a whole. I mean, you can't really see it.
I think vinyl siding is a different animal than vinyl trim.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a much bigger area that we're talking about with siding. I think we should not prohibit vinyl trim. A majority which way?
Got two or three.
Okay,
Let's
so
remove the trim.
get rid of that trim.
Okay.
Here.
Well, I mean, there's no reason.
I mean, but the historic district's probably not gonna allow that, that's my guess.
No, that's.
Yeah, it's already.
And so, and then I, we've got tabby again.
That's already.
I thought we wanted to allow tabby. So we don't want it on the list of prohibited materials.
What you define tabby as being, that's the problem.
Okay, well, we can remove it if you want.
I think we should remove it.
I don't feel strong. I mean, there's tabby foundations everywhere, it seems like here, so.
Foundation.
Yeah.
So we should remove it elsewhere too.
Well, I mean, do you want, I think now we're getting into the, it's one thing to remove it from the foundation, but do you want it like tabby walls or, I don't know.
I think with Libby's comment, if not in Beaufort, where would you use tabby? I mean, I think it's one of the, it's low country vernacular in my opinion.
I mean, if you all are okay with it, that's.
Well, it's used
Feel
in
strongly.
Abersham a lot. Abersham is allowed to have
It's
it.
used in the islands, but you know.
No, I mean, that's a good example of where it's
Yeah. I
commonly
think
seen,
it should
it's
be
like
allowed,
Abersham,
yeah.
like those kind of neighborhoods, Celadon.
So you wanna keep tabby then for?
All right,
Yeah.
we'll just to remove the, oh, actually, no, you can keep that.
So we want to allow?
Oh, that's right, you're right, you can undo that one and,
So do not have tabby in the prohibited materials list.
so it can be allowed.
Yes.
Get rid of that. Going down. And then I think the vinyl windows in that sort of here. Let's just remove that because I think that's a Jeremy thing because it's.
Is it already
Schools,
covered?
yeah, my kids, they're doing it discretionary and, let's say that, especially someone that's got some real issues down there and has not contributed to building, some back of building. Allow some discretion, not just prohibit it.
So take out L3.
Yeah.
So,
Because there are some. Tribute buildings are not always, too all, can be like 1,000 square foot.
so I have a non-contributing, project, and we were doing vinyl windows. But then the HRV, no vinyl windows. So.
Yeah, we'll just leave it up to the HRB
Okay.
instead of saying no always know, I think there's situations where it's in like the rear or something like that. And the person has some financial problem, why not allow them, if they can make a case.
Well, plus it's under roofing, so,
Yeah, that's.
so
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
anyways.
something's. That moved anyway.
I think, regarding the colors, non-traditional colors such as orange or purple, in my neighborhood on King Street, there was a, big renovation done. And the metal roof that was put on and somehow approved is like fire engine red. And then they took down a bunch of trees, so there's nothing covering that roof. And it's been up for a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years. It has not faded in the slightest, and it really sticks out. So, I mean, I don't see that that is any better than orange or purple, honestly. It doesn't seem to be those muted colors that we talk about, and it's, I believe the color of the sample was heritage red or something like that, but it didn't turn out to look that way once it was on this roof.
I mean, we could add red if we want to.
You know, or I think they like bright colors.
There's sometimes gonna
Yeah,
be
that
red.
wasn't true. I was.
Well,
Color for roofs.
In Charleston, it's one of the most common colors.
But it's more of a muted color red as opposed to what this turned out to be.
Well, maybe this covers it, non-traditional, colors. Or maybe it's, there's some colors such as red. Or bright shade.
Shade of red, yes.
Bright, maybe we say bright,
Garish.
In the color section, don't we have some terminology that?
Yeah, we
I mean, maybe we could match that here.
find out. And we have it somewhere. Well, let's just make a note and let's try to find out. I know we have some. Use of highly reflective or glossy materials. That's not really, well, we'll just put a note and we'll try to.
Maybe make a note to try to match this to the other color recommendations that are in the code.
Or is he just not?
No, still heavily.
I'll update them. Later. Well, I think we just need to get through the next few pages here, because those are the 4 and then it kind of stops. So, exceptions, and then we can talk about the next steps. So the windows are really changing.
So nobody has any comments on the roof forms?
We want to keep them to 485 only.
Downspouts.
This is already on the code. It's not.
Right, but the issue is, I think, currently this just applies in T4 and T5, so now this is
We're not-
applied everywhere.
No, we're still keeping the specific to zone. I'm not changing.
Okay.
We're not changing the section. I mean, that's true, the
Yeah.
whole section, but this is still specific.
Gotcha, okay.
So I noticed a lot of downspouts all over the place. The downspout itself might be metal, but then they've got something that looks like a dryer vent hose attached to it to direct water out further. It doesn't match the downspout, and it's not the same material in a lot of cases. And I realize that why people want to do that, but it's, I don't think that matches this requirement.
Well, do you want to turn that into a code violation?
Well, I mean, they can be pretty ugly.
You didn't answer my question.
I think the issue with that is that they're not permanent to, like, you can just kind of attach it from the downspout, so.
Yeah. And people do that after the fact, like, we're only looking at this when the house is in review, but people usually put those plastic PVC see things on. You know what I mean? And
Well, I know they don't want to do that, but they could better make it more attractive extension. They could dig a ditch or trench to
Bury it.
redirect water.
They could bear, oh, no, you wouldn't wanna ditch or trench. Ideally, what you'd wanna do is to, either create a French drain and take the water through a French drain underground, or have them, route that piece of pipe underground to someplace. I don't know where you would tie it into. I don't know if you permitted to tie it into a public sewer system. So I go back to my question, do you wanna turn that into a code violation?
Well, it's certainly as unsightly as some of the other things we've been talking about.
Absolutely. So what do you wanna do?
Yes.
Where are you seeing all this?
What?
Where are you seeing all this?
I see all around the comments.
on page, what is that, 60? Oh,
I'm not disagreeing with you that it could be unsightly. I just said, do you want?
Yeah, I realize the necessity for it, but you're right, there's other ways to address it. And even if they made it even the same color as the downspout, that would help, you know?
I just think it's an.
I think that's a
enforcement,
covenant.
and we're probably not gonna.
No covenants in downtown.
Well, in subdivisions, there's covenants for that,
Right.
but
Well,
Are we ready to go to windows? Because these are some big changes. And this is pretty much, if we can get through this to page 68. We're on page 64.
And where did these changes come from? Are these all from Jeremy?
Yeah, they're from Jeremy's suggestions, yeah.
I mean, was there an issue, a problem that's being
Yes,
addressed?
there has been, the problem is one, it's fenestration, not transparency, so we want to make that clear, but, from all of these types, I mean, this is a problem since I've been here. It's, people are just putting the Aldi as a good example, or is trying to do
Harbor
like,
Freight.
Harbor Freight, this is a real problem, like.
Actually, the back of the park is over.
It looks like a void, it looks like a black light
Yeah.
void into nothingness because it's a window with nothing behind it, so there's no transparency and.
I'm just wondering,
We're not clear on that, so that's what we're doing. It doesn't look good. Right.
But
I was putting,
there's some practical issues with that too. I mean, if you have a transparent window, if it looks in on the back of where you're doing fried chicken prep, that's a problem. And number two, I think there's a security issue because if it's truly just nothing but glass, that's an invitation for somebody to come in there late at night, knock out the glass and go in and pillage your business.
And rob the chicken.
And rob it. Yeah. It's.
I'm not a good architect.
But it's a requirement. If it faces the street, I mean, oftentimes it's.
I mean, that's the whole goal. We're trying to prevent that void. Looks like, when you, especially at night, when you see these fake windows that are just being put up.
If you said specific to T4 and T5, then I get a little bit more where this is going. We're talking about a commercial use. But right now, I'm just always thinking Mossy Oaks. What does this mean for Mossy? I don't know. I don't understand that.
Well, I think it's trying to say it has to have it's saying you have to have transparency. It can't be like a spam, it can't be this fake window.
We had those arguments with the hospital with Novant. Especially
Yeah.
because they were like, well, okay, we understand that requirement, but we don't want people looking into our examination room or surgery rooms or whatever, So what should we do here,
Well, or even places where there's children, like, even in school, we got, weirdos in the woods with the kids,
So it's a real problem. This is a major issue for us. It's coming up on everything.
Going back to what maybe we were saying, that if it was like on T3, I want almost an opaque glass, for privacy. Say for like, just to get light in the bathroom, but not be able to see in. I think this was a big.
Well, it was specific to the T4 and T5 but it, I think I think it should be RMX two, right?
Yeah, I just was saying the residential
Maybe
districts.
the
I guess,
exception, we could
couldn't-
add an exception to T three, maybe, is that what you're saying, like suburban district T three and T three M? Add
Just specific to T four, five and RMX, I don't know, just, or except for T three.
well, I think, yeah, that's why it was meant to be all, because, you know, we got a lot of property that's owned institutional, you know, it's IC, which like, as Christopher was stating,
Yeah.
the hospital is owned IC for whatever reason. So, like,
I don't know why
so,
load up Mossy Oaks and all with all these standards that are not really needed, I don't think, in the single family districts.
three S and T four.
It's T4s.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that, or do you want like some kind of
Well,
exemption in these
I mean, the thing about
special
it,
cases?
we've approved things where there's a clear window, but then there's like a wall or a curtain like
Yeah,
right
we-
behind it, and like
We
the
get into that later.
some of the you know, convenience stores. That's always an issue. They can't, according to this, they can't have like shelving or storage or anything like that inside their clear glass.
There wasn't any addition to that. There shall be a visual clearance behind the glass of minimum of 6 feet. Three-dimensional glass, frame at least 6 feet are permitted and may be counted towards it, so we're kind of putting a limit on that.
It says
But windows are prohibited, so.
shelving or storage record behind it shall not be considered transparent fenestration.
I mean, do you want to carve out something in cases where functional use of the building at the discretion of the planning commission?
I think you're gonna almost have something about
Mhm.
functional use of the building.
Mhm.
I mean, as a designer doing commercial building, spandrel glass is something that you do to maintain the architectural integrity of what you're trying to accomplish.
So do we want to do something like in the case of, in the case that the functional use of the building will not allow for transparency? The design review, you know, the planning commission may consider, like lit spandrel glass or another alternative.
Yeah.
But I think it should be lit, because if it's not lit, it looks.
Right, I mean, we need to understand what functional whatever means, because let's say, for example, the Family Dollar, dollar store on Rebo Road, right at Richmond Avenue, when that went in, oh, great, you know, pretty good outside, and then those windows aren't at night, it's totally dark, even though it's what, the building's open, because all those windows are black, I mean, they're not, I guess, real windows or something, so that's.
Well, then we can define in the functional use such as, for example, a.
Institutional uses, I mean, maybe the
Institutional
hospital.
or a garage bay or a, you know, like a functional. Okay. Okay, so let's.
How would this apply to like somebody?
Write this up. Of
That needs to be advertised, you said it's a big
number
issue, but
one,
it needs
number
to
one.
have a lot of thought.
Yeah.
I think everybody's getting sort of tired.
Yeah, but I also think like residential is important because a lot of people like to have those doors that have the big
Okay.
panel of glass in them.
Yeah.
And then most of them get, you know, like blinds or something
Just kind of-
that can be closed for privacy. And some doors even have the blind inside the glass. I think you should be able to do that at your house.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to say, if I want a glass window at my door, you have to be able to see 3 feet into my house. I think that's inappropriate.
How about we put the planning commission may consider. Design exception of this requirement, design exceptions to this requirement to include spandrel glass. And or, what you call it, all that, just have.
Higher opacity. Higher percent opacity.
A higher opacity.
But I think we need to give standards too, and I like Mike's functional use of the building.
So
And privacy in a private residence should
In,
be.
in cases, well, we've already done, in cases where they can prove. You said critical, prove this area. It's a critical. Critical, okay. In the cases where the applicant, the applicant, proves these are critical functional areas. We'll have to read through that.
That's, yeah,
Exactly
that's-
same as there is.
Yeah.
So the exemptions. From T2S, T3 and single family or something like that.
Cause you've got your single family and 2 and 3 family permitted in T4.
That's
Got it,
true,
so
with the
you don't-
exception of single family, T3 and TP, yeah, single family residential.
Any residential,
Well, yeah, you don't
we had a
want to.
problem with that in these apartment complexes.
Well, and what about institutional uses then?
We want the apartment complexes to not have big.
Schools and such, you know.
How about commercial, how about we just put, the exception of, yeah, because commercial would be multi-family, so that, the exception of resident.
How's that limited to retail?
Well, I mean, multifamily, they'll put big windows on the first floor if they can. Yeah. I know because some pretty good do. You really, old Jericho. Yeah, that, the Broad River Boulevard, they were, couldn't figure out, remember the. Or windows, they went out. Put it out. Does that solve that? Would be, and then commercial still not family.
Getting better, yeah.
And digest it.
Does then the rest of this kind of all work then?
What about the hospital situation? Is that covered?
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah. we can cover it. Okay, and then the rest of it is kind of just. Consistent. That's what we're talking about.
be part of it.
Yeah, let's. I think it's actually still pretty deep. Yeah, that's one direction. Suit it up, yeah, let's fix it out.
You know, that's like struggling. It's perfect.
Worst part is the track change.
I want, you're 6 foot from the window inside.
That's right. That's a long way.
Guess the idea is for it to be like an actual room.
Right. It's the goal. Unless you can prove that there's a functional or critical.
Like a hallway.
We had that, yeah, we had that, but Mike is, we're gonna wordsmith, I think that solve a lot of our problems. Especially with the Aldi, you know, that doesn't look so on. Code requirements, they know. Okay. I think we're just really. Onto the final page 67 is really, and the code, we've pretty much gone through it all after 67.
Okay, so then we have Tabby.
Yeah. Page 67.
Put that back in.
On 67, 3B, it just says stucco. Talking about stucco already and all that stuff. Stucco needs to have some definition, whether it's like stucco on block or something like that. You need a solid substrate.
It's 67, 3.
And just, like, you can't do stuff like wood framing, brick shingles, or.
Yeah, but, you have a solid substrate, that's, and we're talking about ethos already. Types of ethos, I think. Research, what research we have that we need to do on that. I'm not up to date on. Done a lot of lawsuits with ethos, but, I think we need to take a look at, the whole issue of ethos and stucco. And appropriately, use terminology on it.
Well, I think one way that maybe somehow we could incorporate. That's how it's usually was to say that it should have like a drainage plan.
I just think we need research on it, see what the current technology is. I just get away from it too long to know what the current technology is. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think if we can come up with what the current technology is, state that line. Just stucco doesn't mean anything.
I'm sure I know it's behind stucco. Flesh out the definition, truly modern stuff.
Okay, final thing really is the transparency with the RMX and IC district.
So is the first sentence in that section, that new section, really a sentence?
But we might not need to use it.
Or for the page.
67. Looks like a either new or revised C1, windows and doors.
Okay.
I mean, we might not need to do this because we're doing it for everything, because that's used to be, but let's think about that, because it's basically just the same requirement we talked about each time. General problems. Just put a note, like. It's gonna be hard to figure that out until we just have to like create a clean copy to make sure that. It actually makes sense. Yeah, let's.
So the 3% administration requirement, I guess, is to prevent having just a solid monolithic wall facing a street, right? But it seems like we need to figure out some kind of way to balance that requirement against a functioning business.
Which in the past, the balancing has been by allowing these fake windows.
Fake windows, yeah, and I can understand why fake windows don't look good, but you know, I can understand aesthetically why you would want that, but practically, how do you run a business where somebody again look straight into where you're washing dishes, you know, your dishwashing sink. or where
Well,
you're
that's why
breading
we
chicken.
were adding that exemption
Yeah.
that he stated, the critical. If we can prove that, then maybe you guys have the discretion to do that. Right now, you don't have that, so.
But the buildings are gonna face the street, the door is gonna be on the street, so it seems like all your public or many of your public facing functions are gonna be in front of the building there.
Yeah, but I suppose. Well, think about that Parker's that's in the, in the new shopping center. So I guess what I'm saying is that. I guess that requires then a business. So if you have a business that's an out parcel at a shopping center. The front of that business is not facing the street, the front of that business is facing the parking lot where most of the customers are gonna come in. So you're trying to make the building be something that it really isn't.
Okay, I don't know, I didn't review that part, but it seems like it doesn't face the street, so there's more flexibility on that one. But, I mean, the Parker's doesn't face, I mean, it's not on a street, right?
But the
It's a
code
parking
requires,
lot.
the code requires the backside of that building, the 40% registration. That Parker's in the shopping center,
Yeah.
the backside of that building is required to have 40% penetration. Nobody's gonna walk into that side of the building.
So you mean it was the side of the building?
So the front side of the building faces the gasoline pumps, that's where everybody really comes in. The back side of that building, I think, was required by code to have 40%, here it is right there.
Like we were considering that a street.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, well,
So, yeah, so to me.
But there is a good Parker's example that would work there. You know, the Parker's at Ladies Island.
Yeah.
That is fronting, like both sides is glass.
I think around Parker had.
Oh, you're talking about the
all the way
one
around the
on
building.
St. Helena.
Yeah.
St. Helena.
I'm sorry, I'm saying, I'm not.
That's a good.
Yeah, that backside could basically be a front. It's got, you know, transparency and it also has the glass facing the, so it's kind of like a two-sided partition. And I think it,
Is that, is what you're talking about?
yeah,
But you see, yeah, so is
no,
that,
no, go to the, this side. I mean, it's not,
I don't think
this
you can see
is
that
not
side.
oriented correctly, but if this was on that, you know, particular situation, you know, that would be the front on the street.
it looks like the front.
Which looks like the front, but it's like hidden in the back, so it looks like they put it in the wrong direction, like. They should have put it on the,
yeah, but you always want the front door to be facing the. That's, where is that? Is that? real?
yes,
Yeah, that's Helena Island.
This, yeah.
so they could have made it work.
I didn't know the back was that.
Yeah,
The back is that much glass?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
never realized that either. Yeah, and I go in that way all the time.
Is there a door in that back?
Uh-huh,
Yeah, it looks that way.
We need to
Well-
distinguish between primary and secondary streets.
It's an idea to kind of think about.
So you got all that glass, but just empty. So.
I think I have already in the code, but
Which we wouldn't allow in the city, the glass to be fully covered by.
Yeah.
Right, so this one just needs to be rotated this
So
way.
so if that was in the city, again, would you be looking at where they're bred in the chicken? Pumps being.
Yeah.
Delicious, by the way.
Yeah, the location right there, the window you're looking at.
Yeah, they're probably, yeah, I mean.
Okay, well, we don't have to solve this.
well, I mean, I think we've got a whole code, so you want to talk about the next. I know there's, you know, garages, I think some of the apartments are kind of, you know, figuring something, there's some wordsmithing on some of this that has to be done, but how do you want to do this moving forward? Was this successful? Just kind of showing the changes and then how do we want to make these?
Well, I think we went through the second part pretty well. And we did even get into it in detail. I think if we go back now to the beginning and just catch up to where we started today. And then added the additional comments, we could complete section 4. And then move to 2 and 3.
So would we get a sheet like this based on today? And then do a once over the whole thing? Is that what you're talking about?
I think we could.
But yeah, we'll just have the sheet and then you all will will, kind of bring the major changes, right? to the
Yeah,
meeting. So-
and what I think would be good is if you could highlight the areas that we said that we were going to research a little bit, do something, cover those next time, what the results of that research was.
Okay, well, I'll do this sheet, and we'll add on all the stuff from today,
Yeah,
and we'll just add highlights for the yellow.
Do you want highlights in draft or do you want highlights on this?
that,
Yeah, don't highlight the code anymore.
Okay,
believe
and then,
what we have, where we are.
okay, so we can do that, and then I think the two big things that we didn't resolve were the garage issues
Right.
and
Yeah.
multifamily, although a lot of diversity I had in section 2, so maybe we can get that chapter 2. But you now, okay, so and that can be like 2 separate discussions, maybe?
I think so.
Okay.
Because Bill had a lot of,
Then the liner building that we talked, that he started, we had a revision and go with like a 18-foot or 16-foot pedestrian activization. We're okay with that.
I'm not gonna, if the next meeting is the first Monday, I'm not gonna be here, so just let me know about that. But I will say, I can either send out an email about the garage, that this to.
Talk at the next work
Yeah,
session.
yeah. I mean, I think we should leave the garage standards as they are and not add a lot of other standards. It's gonna be hard to administer. And with the housing diversity, yeah. We need to think about that too as well. It's a little complicated, but now maybe with the.
Yeah, I think those are
revision-
2 things that we felt 2 major things in the liner building. Does that sound good? So we do all of this changes and then everybody brings back anything else they think needs to be in chapter 4. Chapter 4. They should just, have that ready. And we talk about the 3 major things first and then go over the final thing. That work? Yeah. Okay, and then, I don't think we have anything right now for the planning commission in March that I know of. But, we could do this again. If Sean can do it, we could do it, if we end up not having any support for the planning commission, we could do it in the afternoon and have like another work session to go through the code again, instead of doing it.
So we can get through this, because we gotta get.
Monday would be on Monday.
So what Monday and we're talking about March? What Monday in March?
So you could have 2 work sessions, you could maybe start it later, so it's not a whole 4 hours, be like 3 to 5 hours.
Monday, March 6th, Monday, March 2nd.
Monday, March 2nd, but I don't think we're gonna have any that I know of, anything's gonna be ready.
That's the workshop supposedly.
We're already gonna have the workshop, and if you want to, the 16th, I don't think that's the planning commission meeting of thought. I don't think we're having anything unless something pops up. I mean, it could, not the deadline.
If there's nothing on the agenda, can we convert the meeting to a workshop
Work
like we
session.
did today?
And that's what I was saying, would you like to do like 2 to 5 or 3 to 5, or you wanna do 1 to 5
On which day, what day?
on Monday, the 16th?
I'm agnostic. Oh, actually, starting earlier would be nice, yes. Yes.
Would you wanna just do, like, since you're already doing 1 to 5, would you wanna do it a little less,
Oh, 1 o'clock is fine for me, I don't know, but I'm very flexible that day.
Okay, I mean, 1 o'clock's fine with all of us,
Okay, so the 16th and have we passed the deadline for a submission?
And so we'd be moving the 5 o'clock. Sitting up.
Has the deadline passed for something to get onto the agenda? I mean,
Some stuff in review that, they have kind of a little more of a rolling deadline, but in the next week, it'd have to be, and I haven't heard anybody. Say anything. Yeah, no one's even close, but I'm 90% sure that we're not gonna have a items on the agenda.
Okay, so
So we planned that. I
it's an executive decision. We will do the 16th as a work session in the afternoon,
Okay.
if Sean's
On,
available.
on March 2nd, are we thinking 1 o'clock?
Yeah, that's how we can do this.
I got a medical appointment, at 11:30. I should be able to be back by 1.
Do you want to start at 2? Did I give you breathing room?
It'd be helpful if we could.
Yeah, 2's fine with me.
That's not a problem. 2
I think the
o'clock.
only issue with that is it's like scheduled regularly for one, like on, I got it on the calendar.
Oh,
Well, Tuesday,
For March 2nd? Oh, okay. Well, if I'm a little late, I'm a little late, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
You know,
maybe we'll have a lot of public comment.
Yeah, that's true. It'll be-
medical appointments way out. Okay. What do you have, in final or in, up-to-date form for ADUs and SDRs?
Oh, that's going to the council next month. It's all done.
What?
What you all did and then a final ordinance based on the city council's STR.
Well, the
So
last we talked, we were gonna have a combined section council to discuss.
They wanted to move it to the next council meeting, the question I got.
did they have the benefit of our input as of the time they last considered it?
I mean, we're talking about, they want the short-term rental, so we don't have to add the ADU, we can just add the short-term rental changes. That's all I was thinking about.
I'd like to have a copy of that.
But when I send it off, send it over to you.
Yeah, I said, I'd be happy to see where you.
We'd all like it.
I haven't seen it for a long time and I don't know what it says right now.
Because I think our recommendation was no short-term rental is the primary use, but is a secondary use in the carriage house, all over the place. But that is, I don't think that was what the council was thinking.
Did not agree with your occupied only suggestion. And they've added a 300-foot distance requirement. Just some
For
other,
everything else.
some
Do you
other,
know why they didn't agree with the owner occupied?
I mean, it's, there was.
I definitely see it, because I know it would be in conflict with my particular situation, but I know there's others.
But it would be, when there's specific language that anybody who has a short-term rental before the date of the ordinance would be under the old.
I understand that. The problem is that if you have certain people like myself, that, in the future, their dependents or whoever wants to sell that property will not be worth what the investment originally was if it's not allowed to continue to be an STR. And so you're kind of playing with, investments, of residents, and there's a way to get around that, but
That point, I mean, it's just emphasizing that the STRs are having an impact on the price of housing. Because if you can buy it and use it as short-term rental, you can buy it at a much higher price than you can. You and I, wanted to buy it, use it as a family resident, so that.
I don't have it with me, I'm pretty sure you can deed it to your, like, heirs and assigns.
So, but you say it's going to city council at their next meeting, is it going first reading, second
First
reading?
reading, yeah.
First reading. So if we have whatever they're looking at, and we either as a planning commission or some of us individually would like to make public comment on the ordinance that they're considering, would be very helpful.
I mean, you basically just recommend you agreed to take it out of the development section. And you added the owner occupied, that's the only thing that really was. And it's
That's huge,
becoming
though.
its own,
Yes.
it's becoming its own code, yeah, the already does all that. So,
Some of us have an instant, the ordinance is going before city council and tangentially, so does the planning commission. So that's why we want it.
well, and I think that those of us who necessarily agree with the rest of the group were meant acceptance. We were talking about, and I don't know how it was written or it was written up in what was gonna be presented presented, so I definitely want to see it.
Okay, I mean, I can forward, it's just, you know. It's basically in the business license section of the. So that's for. What do you think we'll see it? When so I can send it to everybody. Sure.
This council that are being entertaining.
March 16th is the third.
So they're not gonna take it up at their work session, they're only gonna take it up at the meeting, as far as you
I
know?
guess that's March 10th. Yeah, they've already had like multiple work sessions on it. Like four. The last one was, I think, in November or December, and then it's been the attorney and he finally did his final, draft. He fixed my draft.
Well, the sooner the better, I can say.
We're all packing up, ready to go home. I've got 3 minute things to say. Yeah.
Mike, did you know?
Yeah,
My name's Eric Patterson. I do commercial development, long-term Buford resident within the city. I do a lot of commercial work, particularly light industrial property. Buford Industrial Village is one. Uncle did all the Commerce Park many years ago. Also doing land project down at Depot Road and then some other properties on Lake Collier city properties. Invariably, I'm doing the commercial stuff. We're finding these codes. Now I'm a long-term, been in all the committees for 30 years. They are trying to group light industrial and commercial type buildings as if they were some residential creature. They want to take nice windows from a house and raise up a stone grade floor and make it 18 inches, have no trucks. I don't want to see any of the trucks, and you can't drive the truck around the building to get in and out. Yeah, they're different. And I'm going to, when you read all these documents, there's no reference how we're going to address light industrial properties. Light industrial property should look at the built as a light industrial property, not as some modified house that makes it look like something that it isn't. And invariably, that's a core business thing. Buford Industrial Village, it was nothing. They paid $85 a year in taxes. I think it's paying, several $100,000 in taxes now. A lot of jobs, a lot of people doing that. The county has major facilities. Long story short, I think it needs some consideration. The designation is LI, and a couple of the things that we've got to have administration all the way around the building for people doing machine work and for packaging for dust control. It's the purpose in trying to put a residential ribbon on the nose of the light industrial building. A lot of the things I already put restrictions on it, 4-foot slopes, good metal materials. You can't have any metal on the side. Before we talked about it, EFS was not permitted. There's lots of issues like that that ought to be dealt with separately. Simplistically, light industrial property should be just like the Commerce Park that the city owns. Whatever those rules are, all the rest of the LI district should have that. They're allowed to clear trees, they have centralized storm drain, they don't go through the same architectural controls. And that technical, and they, that for reason, for economic development reasons, you've got to have that function somewhere. They screen it in isolated areas. They zone that. I bought the property, I did all the infrastructure, and now as we go through this process, the rules are changing. I think it's inappropriate. Just, they don't look bad. It's not the home stuff out there. So I think that needs to be kept in mind when we do all of this stuff. There's no reason to have 40% penetration on a self-storage building or a manufacturing operation. Doesn't make sense.
I don't think that was the intention.
No, but the written words.
I think it's just things fine.
Yeah, because you think of, we think of the point, we think of downtown, we think of Moss Coast. And these areas, nobody owns any property but a limited number of people in the city. And so it's a different zone. Different rules, different expectations. The public doesn't expect it to look like a cottage on the Old Point.
I think that's something we need to think about when we go back and forth, is that it was very specific for all the design standards about materials, yes and no, and windows, blah, blah, blah. It only applied to the T4 and the T5. So by deleting that, it's opened it up to, my thing was about residential. Well, no, Mr. Patterson, okay, don't forget about limited industrial. Well, we might want to think about IX or whatever.
IC.
Yeah, so we just need to be real cognizant. I mean, it was a little change on paper, delete, but now it's opened
Yeah, I
up
think
all these things, so
this is
just,
an error.
just need to think about that.
Yes, just whatever the battle is city, let me do the same thing, and anyone else who owns LI and IC property.
You own most of the yellow.
That's not a mistake.
But the city doesn't know.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thanks, we're adjourned.
So, I do just one question. We are not gonna get a new door. Just,
I'll take it with your-
okay.